Okay, it started. All right, so it is currently 11:30 at night, and I've managed to, well, he's roped me into it. A new friend has joined. Um, as lame as that was to say, where we're gonna do another discussion on various topics. No idea what I'm gonna title this one. We'll get into that later. Um, I had more to say and then immediately forgot it. I think it was just gonna be like I am keep continuously putting off making that SCP readings video for no distinct reason. I'm generating hype is what I'm doing. But Jesus Christ, my throat is aching already. But I'm here with a new friend who none of you have ever heard of, and this is spur of the moment. Um, in the description, I'll have to ask him to send it to me later, is the little checklist where we talk about whatever topics are going to be brought up. So if you want to look and get a view of what we're going to talk about in the future, just go down and check it out. And then I think I'm ready to start if you are, unless you have anything else to say.
No, I'm good.
Okay. What were we starting with again?
The first thing I have is, well, let me introduce myself.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I mean, only if you want to. I mean,
does
are you going to be
does
a regular thing?
does Connor use his name? You might have to
He,
beep
yeah,
that out.
he did
No.
once. So he's
Okay.
a known property. He's a known entity. He's a known
Because
agent.
I'm trying to make YouTube videos too. I'm lazy. It turns out research takes a lot of time. I'm going to be posting definitely by when it's January.
Yeah.
By March, I'm hoping to have the video out.
Send me
Um,
whatever channel you're going to put, by the way, so I can link that in the description too.
okay, I will. Online, my gamer tag, my YouTube channel's Ankylosaurus. My name's Zadok. Most everyone who's going to be listening to this mostly is going to know who I
Is going
am.
to know you. And if they
But
aren't, well,
yeah,
now they do.
yeah, the people who don't know me in real life. Um, yeah, I have I think a big important thing for my channel to let people know, and especially here, I have a decent education. I do think I am a fake
Intellectual,
intellect
yeah.
intellectual. That's the word. Um,
I've known this guy for 7 years. Is it 8 or 7 now? With this new
uh,
year.
I think you'd have to be what age? And sixth grade, you're what? 14? No, 14. You're freshman. So then that means you're 10, 11. And
Yeah, and my birthday is late into the school year, so that
so
means
I almost 10
I've
years.
yeah,
It has to be
I've known this guy for
between
like
9 or 10.
9 years, right? So
Um,
if you have a grasp on what my rough intelligence is, we went to the same middle school and the same high school, and we're going to the same college too. So
so yeah, I do think I'm a little bit more.
I think he's better than me.
I think I'm better at speaking a little bit, not amazingly, but a little bit. Um, and also to be clear, the channel I'm going to be posting on that's going to be linked is don't sip the soup.
Yeah,
We've had this
we've had this
channel
channel for like 5 years.
so many years. I've posted things, taken it off. There's been so many reworks, but life is kind of more settled now. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the only reason we haven't done it more soon or sooner rather is because while I usually have the free at night have the free time, uh, I don't want to be an asshole and constantly be like, guys, what are we gonna do with this? Hey, you said we're gonna do. I don't want to be that guy, so that's why it's never. Otherwise, it would have been so fucking famous by now. Jesus.
also to be fair, and not to be rude, I kind of have more of a life, so
Yeah,
things kind of get in the way.
I am stuck dealing with kids. I'm not even a father.
So,
Anyway,
the first thing we're gonna be talking about is tropes and stories. So,
this is a grab
uh,
bag episode, so you want to
the
start with one of
first
yours or
thing
start with one of mine?
you, um, I'm gonna start off with something that the one that I thought was gonna incite a reaction to you.
Okay.
Chekov's gun.
Because my stupid fucking status.
Not necessarily, but I just it's a very popular trope. It's a very popular concept.
Hold on, I'm gonna
Um,
for my status right on Discord. It's for the past like month. It's been They call it Chekhov's gun because you check off the gun, and I thought it was so fucking stupid I had to immortalize it. So
So according to Wikipedia, it says
no, no, no. Go to TV
Chekhov's
tropes.
gun. Go to TV
We're
tropes.
experts here. We use TV tropes. Well, I don't, because I'm not gonna turn off my ad blocker, because TV tropes is so fucking bad about advertising. Holy shit. Same
It
with Fandom
says
Wiki. If anything has an official wiki.gg, use that.
if you this is a quote from Anton Chekhov. If you say in the first chapter that there is a rifle hanging on the wall, in the second or third chapter, it absolutely must go off. If it's not going to be fired, it shouldn't be hanging there. Which already I could say some things, but I'm gonna read a little bit more of this. Russian writer Anton Chekhov, master of the short story, gave this advice: if it's not
Master of
essential,
the short
leave it
story.
out of the narrative. The term has come to mean any object that later turns out to be important. For example, when a character finds a mysterious necklace in the woods and gives it to their partner, the audience will remember that they have a necklace, but nevertheless will be surprised when it turns out to be the power source to the villain's doomsday device. The necklace was always essential to the story, but its introduction downplayed its importance. Chekhov's gun overlaps to a certain extent with foreshadowing. A gun going off in the third act is going to feel like a real ass pull if it hasn't appeared in the previous scene. But the point of the trope is more that the audience expects an element, once introduced, to have some importance to the story. Show us a gun, and we already are primed to see someone get shot. This trope is open to multiple subversions, where the gun is put into play in a way the audience did not anticipate. It can also be function as a red herring.
I was
Viewers
about to
watch the gun
say,
intently until Act 3, only to be surprised and amused when a best of James Gunn box set lands on the villain's head
what?
and does him in.
I would actually be so
This is stupid
furious if that
thinking.
was actually what
As a
happened.
result of the success of the franchises like Lost or Harry Potter, viewers and fans of myth arc laden and or carefully written shows and books have become accustomed to obsessing over minuscule
Carefully
details
written
and
Harry
looking out
Potter.
for Chekhov's gun everywhere and anywhere. Whether
Okay.
they actually exist or not, we call these epileptic trees and wild mass guessing. So, with that kind of
Before we actually talk about
introduction,
it, uh, am I the only person who always thought of Chekhov's gun as like a muzzle loading flintlock? Well, when you picture
I didn't
Chekhov's
even think of a
gun,
gun.
I
I think of
think
like an older gun, like a revolver or something. But
I think of
for
a
me,
way
because I
older.
know of the quote, it
I
always has
never
been
pictured
like
a
a
rifle.
rifle.
Well, because the only Russian short story I know is where Russian roulette comes from, is where someone like denounces fate, holds a gun to their head, pulls the trigger, it doesn't fire, and then shoots at the wall. And that was also a muzzle loader. It wasn't a revolver. I don't. It's weird. But anyway, I always pictured it as a muzzle loader because of that short story. But
Um,
master of the short story, that pissed me off to hear. I hope
and
other
here's the
people
thing.
call them that.
Here's the thing. This is where me prefacing that I'm an idiot comes into play. I have not. There's a lot of things I talk about that I'm not really well versed in, and I think my opinion still matter. I don't actually really. I'll still voice my opinion even though it doesn't really matter, when it's non-serious things. And I have not read at all any Chekhov story at all, and so to
I
me,
don't know
judge
his
his
stuff because
yeah.
I don't I don't really read classical Russian literature. I'm sorry to my classic Russian literature fans. I'm not one of you.
Um, one of the things I think Chekhov's gun is it, maybe this is me talking from a point of kind of like well no der hindsight or whatever. I think it's a little stupid, and I think it's kind of like, well, yeah, of bad right. Like if you were to write bad or poorly, you would just not introduce the thing that's going to happen.
It's like
Of course, you're going to want to introduce the thing that's going to happen in the story, no matter what.
it's like Sun Tzu's The Art of War, how it's just like telling it to an audience who would have never thought about it before. Like he wrote it for nobles who've never battled. I guess this is presumably for people who have never written. But even then, how true is that? Because when I see amateur writing, I don't want to think about it maliciously, because shit, I'm an amateur writer too. I feel like they're almost really excited to talk about the stuff they want to talk about, where they almost can't foreshadow because it's constantly in a bunch of scenes. If you get what I'm saying? Like I feel like Chekhov's gun isn't something that you need to point out or like overstate because it's kind of instinctual when you're writing a story. Because even someone with like a tacit understanding of writing or books or anything like that are going to understand if I want to talk about something, I have to talk about it first, or even if they're not actively thinking about that, their excitement will make them bring it up beforehand. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Also, I think i- the, the thing is, obviously it's a quote. It's not the whole thing. I don't know the whole thing. But the whole, if you do this, it absolutely must, like, this thing absolutely must happen, is stupid, especially when this little snippet talks about
Red herrings.
yeah, subverting that trope. And for me, especially if you're writing, like, if he's writing short stories, so he doesn't get to set up a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
For me, I think in this we'll go into a little bit of what we plan on talking in the thing our next
It's
topic,
fine
but
to like keep overlapping. That's
world
what I do.
building,
Yeah.
there's certain things
That you just drop in for the
I
sake of
feel
it.
like, for example, um, we're gonna use a lot of D&D,
We are
examples because
both
that's something.
DMs of several years, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's where our biggest overlap will be of, like, works. But
Mhm.
for me, I think if I'm explaining to you how, okay, for the campaign that I'm DMing, he is playing in, that
So,
we have, it's on hiatus right now. The big bad evil guy is going to be this super powerful, like, practically warlock. He's being helped by this one of the two ancient gods, right?
mhm.
And when we first started the campaign, I had this long ramble about some of the lore, and it's like kind of an in-universe
It was
poem
a prologue.
story. It's Genesis. It was Genesis, creation of the universe to set the tone of how the magic works, how gods work, and that type of stuff. And throughout the story, they get more information from these individuals, and because they're learning about this thing, and the big bad is attached to one of these gods, would you consider, like they're saying, it's kind of foreshadowing, but, like, would you consider that Chekhov's gun? There's definitely things that I brought up that are going to be used against you, and it's like, if you guys do happen to remember stuff, it will help you navigate the situation,
Mhm.
because it's like, well, there's the gun, and you're probably gonna get shot. But I wouldn't even, like, Chekhov's gun is, like, to me, very kind of,
Plot devicey.
yeah, it seems too, and I think
Specific.
the biggest thing is the specific, like, his specific quote. What do you, like, if it's not going to be fired, it shouldn't be hanging there. But what if you're trying to establish who this person is, or who this individual is, and it feels like one of those, to me, Freudian statements, where it's like, you want to kiss your dad if he was mean to you, but also if he was nice to you, you also want to kiss your dad. It's like, either way, it's, aha, Chekhov's gun, because if you go, well, the gun that we described is laying on his bedside table, isn't the one that he uses to shoot the main character's wife later on. It's like the separate one, but, like, describing that gun and how it's next to his bedside shows that he owns multiple guns. He is this gun nut, and the fact that he has one hidden in the bookshelf is like this twist surprise. But it's like, oh, they kind of set this up before. Again, with, like, the foreshadowing thing, it's like, there's so many times, actually, and I'm gonna say this as a definitive, an argument to someone's definitive, but I feel like, personally, there always in a story, you don't want to go, here is the thing,
I want to
unless you have
obfuscate it.
a, yeah, unless you have a really good, like, a really good way to subvert that and have people truly forget, like, oh shit, I forgot that happened, oh shit, I forgot they set this up. Unless you really have a good way of doing that, I think every single time you just want to foreshadow it. You don't even want to show what's going to happen. You kind of want to be like,
Allude to
oh,
it with like
and
metaphor.
this is what I'm talking about with the not Schrodinger, the
It's Freudian.
Freudian stuff, is take something as bad as Stranger Things, for example.
Oh
But season
man.
3, they have the giant fucking portal rift gun, right?
Hmm.
That isn't shown to you at the very beginning, right? And it's like this build up, and then when like, once they find out, it's almost immediately shot. And so it's like, holy, like, it builds up, builds up, builds up. Oh, that's the thing that's gonna do the thing. and it makes it feel like more of a larger moment.
It makes
And
it feel
while
larger
that
than life
wouldn't
than
still
being
be,
something for the story.
yeah, and while that's still kind of Chekhov's gun, I think argumentatively it's not, because it was, I think it's shown within the enough relative time to where it's shot that it isn't kind of like a setup.
It's
It's
something
kind of like
narrative instead of
there
for
it
the
is.
writer.
Yeah. And for me, those story like that, writing like that is almost better, where it's not foreshadowing. You're just explaining, you explain the universe, so when you say here's the crazy thing, it's not that crazy. Because I also feel like this comes from probably
You
because,
hate like a
like you said,
sucker
the time
punch.
that that is running. Yeah, like a sucker punch. Like, I think the better thing to do is just say, "Here's the thing," right? Like it says, like just to have it happen, for the audience, but set up the world and set up the writing and the story where it's not like uh, its pure existence isn't crazy.
It's not the
It's
smoking gun.
narratively
I hate that
crazy.
that's the
Yeah.
saying because oh Chekhov's gun, but it's not the smoking gun that points to aha. I now because an important thing too is like you don't want your audience to know everything, especially the fucking ending, right?
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I think the fact that it's so blatant only works in some situations. I think even just the fact of it going, it must go off, and like there's not a point of describing it. I think it comes from, of course, the fact that he's a short story writer, but also as someone, as the few short stories that I've read in classical literature that I've read, um, like you talk about the Invisible Man, there's so much pointless shit in that story, but that's what makes it feel
Like a
so
story, it makes it feel like an
real,
urban
and like
legend.
yeah, and his character is so like human and weird, of like this invisible, like this man in his room. It's so, like the way that they describe what's going on and the monotony is such a good narrative like tool. And to just write all of that off being like, no, you just must be quick with your writing, set up this and then have it happen, is
That's
so such like a brutal, like, you know, uh a kind of
like
harsh way
extreme.
of writing,
Yeah.
yeah, of like writing. And I think also the best example of why I think it's bad is because, and I think this is probably because people have heard about Chekhov's gun, any it is like the classic mistake of a baby writer to do something like that. You look at like a lot of creepypastas, a lot of online fan fiction
Jeff
stuff.
the Killer.
It's just, here's your layup, then there's a dunk. Here's your layup, then it just
It is
always
the
feels the same.
exact run through.
There's no guessing of what's happening, there's no suspense, there's no build up, there's no kind of there's nowhere to rest your mind and
Eyeless
feel
Jack is the
involved in
worst with
this
this,
world.
by the way. If you
Yeah,
want to
for
connect it to
sure.
a real Ruka Eyeless Jack is the worst about it. So is Laughing Jack. That's all. Funny. The Jack brothers are really bad about this. I also want to say something about Chekhov's gun. It's actually kind of part of why I have it as my status, specifically the way it is. Chekhov's gun because you check off the gun. Because half the time I see it in stories, it's like it feels like a fucking checklist. Like, oh, I'm gonna put this here so I have that as my thin shield for later. Why I brought up this crystal of ultimate power, whatever. Because you see, it was right there on the nightstand. How could you, the reader, not have guessed it would be used? Because I don't know, motherfucker. Because you just like said, oh, here's this by the way, and then we never bring that up until the end. Granted, I'm sure that's not what he meant by the quote, but that's how other people use it as, or like, because of the way the quote is worded, it almost makes it feel like describe it in passing, okay, now it's back at the end, but not in between, which makes it, like I said, feel like a checklist, which I loathe because if Chekhov's gun is supposed to make you, it's supposed to help you prevent these rug pull, pointless, like, where did that come from endings. But the way
Sorry.
the quote is, it's all good. But the way the quote is worded almost encourages that because you're making a pivotal thing feel like a passing like frivolity, right? And that irritates me a lot because people when people are trying out there, and I get it, right? Your first work's never your best. You're doing this for practice. You're getting experience, etc., etc. But that's no excuse for your first work not to be your best foot forward, right? So I that's why I don't like Chekhov's gun because it's so binary. It's so this is how you do it. Don't stray away. This guy's last name is Russian. Don't you trust a Russian author? Because shit, Russian literature is genuinely fucking everywhere. I still gotta read Roadside Picnic though, but Anyway, if I what I wanted to say about that pretty much. I think. Let me think really quickly. Also, it just goes. Chekhov's gun almost flies as a parody of a red herring too, which because I like a good red herring.
Yeah, I think also also to be fair, like we're saying, I don't think that it's not a judge on Chekhov as a writer or anything. I haven't read any of his shit. This is kind of the zeitgeist version of Chekhov's gun, like experiencing it within media and within society in current day. But I think the biggest reason why it's like this and why it's such, in my head, a shitty thing is because it's become a simulacrum of itself.
Hmm.
It's like so many young writers are like, yes, Chekhov's gun, let me do this. And so many people are try to play into tropes like that, that it's kind of uh
A self-fulfilling prophecy where it's like, oh, I want
yeah.
to avoid looking like I'm just writing things as I go along, so I'll put this here, and then when it comes back, it'll be really cool. But because you're like, okay, I set it up, and now I have to wait, instead of thinking like, okay, now I get to develop it, and that it ends up just becoming like, oh, it just looks like you just went along with it and wrote it as you went along. Which some parts of your writing are fine to be like that, but other times you need a structure, you need a skeleton work.
Yeah, it's like within the health realm, or where people want to get working out and everything. There's so many advanced concepts of like or like people who are advanced in that field who go, this is how you do it.
Oh, the
But
grifters.
the problem, well, not even necessarily grifters, there's just so much top down knowledge that when you're starting, the whole thing is that you're just starting, and so you take these things without having knowledge of the subject, and you fuck them up. But
Hmm.
then you get to like what's the word I'm like
Plateau.
a mediocrity medium. You get to a certain point where you think I'm at a higher point than a beginner, but obviously you're not nowhere near like someone who's educated, and so you go, well, this helped me out at the beginning, I guess. You tell the people the basics, but you're not Chekhov. Like I'm like you as a baby writer are not Chekhov, and everyone you the way that then therefore the way that everyone experiences this knowledge is being spread not by the people who know what they're talking about, but the people who halfway know what they're talking about, and then over time it just feels
Which
shitty.
granted is also us, but
Yeah, but obviously, I feel like we're self-aware about it. But
again,
again, not
take
a dig at
literally
anything.
everything we say with like I
But I think
whenever I
that's
make
why
these
it gets
videos
to
is I
the
want you
point.
to think about how do I write, how can I improve, or even just like what do I read? How can I improve my standards of quality? That's important too, right?
Um. Okay. What is something? We
You
got
want to talk about
that
you want to
done.
okay, we just got off of being negative. Want to keep being negative or want to be happy?
Um. Let's go into an in between with another one of mine. Love interests.
Ooh,
So
yeah. Okay.
for me, I love rom-coms. I love comic books. I feel like that's my biggest media. And like, I don't read a lot of books anymore. Uh, and
I
even
don't
though as
I
a
don't
kid I didn't
physically
read a
read
lot of
either too
Vicks,
because I don't want to keep buying books. Whatever I can
books,
find
Vicks, I think I
online,
said.
AO3, Royal Road,
But even then,
sometimes
I
even
don't
just
read
like Reddit.
online. So it's like for me, my biggest intake of stories and stuff is film and shows and comic books as my written media.
Which I want to say right now,
Um,
not to like defend you, well, I guess yeah, to defend you, but also because like there's this thing, right? If there's a story that writers have put effort into, regardless of the medium, right? You're not better because you read books because someone else watches shows, right? Well, you might be depending on what it is, but like shit, Breaking Bad was fucking popular for a reason. That the writing was tight as fuck. Just because
I
you
also
read
think
fucking Diary of a Wimpy
on
Kid
top
doesn't
of
make you
that,
better.
I do think on top of that, people feel. I think I think it does make you better if you're more willing to
Go outside of your
and
comfort
take
zone.
multiple things. I think the people who hold those opinions are like watching TV shows and reading books, but then
Mhm.
you look at someone who's just watched TV shows and you go, well, clearly they're not well versed. They're mindlessly enjoying it. But I do agree with you on that. It's not great. But comic books, another thing is comic books are really good, but I do agree that comic books are like 99% of comic books are shitty. I love comics. I think people should read comics. It's great. They're fun. But the truth is, much like film, I think comic
They're
books is
written for money. Which
they're
shit, a
written
lot of
for
things are written for money, but
money,
like comic books are like
but
written for money.
I feel like it's like older films, uh like 90s and before, because only recently I feel like there's been more politically correct. Basically, I'm trying to say comic books are fully sexist and
Oh yeah,
love making
it's
like women like just like treating them like they're just these worthless sluts and
that's
over
where the
sexualizing everything.
freezer that's where the like
Oh,
woman in the
what's it
freezer comes
called?
from. The like Flash's fiance, wife, whatever.
It's Green Lantern, I'm pretty
Was it
sure.
Green?
If
Whatever.
it's not.
One of the prominent Justice League members, one of their wives was shoved in a freezer from their villain, is like to kill her off, even though she was like pregnant, something like that. For shock value to continue his character development rather than being like, holy shit, this important character is fucking dead. It's no, it's how did it make the man feel, which is what freezering means. It's like killing someone off for the sake of someone else, usually in a sexist manner. So
Yeah, so it is fridging. It is
I always heard freezer.
1994 Green Lanterns, in which Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, arrives home to find a dead body of his girlfriend, Alex DeWitt, stuffed inside his refrigerator. Um, I think this also goes into. Did I put something else? No, I think this is just like love interests. For me, uh, again, someone who loves rom coms and stuff like that, and is into comic books, where this is love interests are like a big staple thing. Like of course that's why I put it in tropes. Like you don't have a comic book character most of the time if there isn't a clear defined uh love interest. And this is, I feel like, in comic book history, it's a more recent thing. Obviously it's kind of been there since the beginning, but if you talk about like the silver age and the golden age, like I think you take Batman as a good example. When he was the most cartoony he was, which is I'm pretty sure that was the golden age. Again, fake intellect over here, don't remember shit from what I like. But uh Batman was like this goofy guy, and comics were like these things of like teaching children simple ways of like how to view the world. Like um and at first it was very propaganda, very much just propaganda. Comic strips and everything in the newspaper, clearly just to boil everything down to a basis so kids can perceive it. You know, Captain America as a character, well, yes, it was written by this Jack Kirby. Um and meant it is a he is a good character. In his lore of the years, he is not aligned with just America, but like the idealistic America, freedom values, and he disassociates from America when it goes through bad times. But he still was invented to be just a Nazi killer, you know.
Mhm.
Like that is his point. And during those times, I feel like Captain America starts to kind of be like, well, here's a love interest. I think the easiest and most popularized concept of a love interest is with Spider-Man, with Mary Jane, where it's like you're introduced to this guy, and so clearly this girl's existence is to be his love interest, and they get better at it, later on when rewriting shows and stuff and trying to retell the story where they introduce him, they're just friends and everything, and then their love grows. But like Mary Jane and most love interests always are just like this girl's existence is written to just
Is
be
to be a
a
damsel in
good,
distress. She is here
yeah,
as motivation.
and kind of just like a good second half to this guy. And they don't really care about the depth of the relationship. The main reason I put this in here for tropes is that obviously I don't like just dumb broad characters. I don't like one-dimensional characters, and that's what they do. They
And
boil down a
I
woman
was about
to.
to say too, and I feel like that's a common like thought. And then I remembered shit like solo leveling exists, and I was like, no, that isn't actually all that common. That
Yeah.
fucking pisses me off that that got
The
popular.
thing is, one of the things I have written down here, for a little side tangent, uh, my girlfriend brought it up just in passing, is a character Nightwing from DC Comics, Richard Grayson. There's two love interests that he gets, for the most part. It's either Barbara Gordon or Starfire, right? And for me, the question that she asked me was like, who do I prefer? And for me, it's technically Starfire, but that's because I enjoy Teen Titans more than I
Let's say we
do
also grew up with
just
the
Bat
Teen Titans
Family.
show.
Yeah, and so while young Dick Grayson has to be there for a lot of Batman's history, and this is kind of where I got into it with where did I write it? Um, did I put it in here? I didn't. I don't know if I wrote it down, but I'll get into this now. Um, Comic books, stories. This is kind of jumping a gun to a different topic, but comic books are in this weird thing, and you'll hear a lot of comic book YouTubers talk about this when, if they're lore YouTubers, that sorry,
Okay.
the main character or the main story of Marvel, right? You have Iron Man, Spider Man, the mutants, everything. They're always written for superheroes to be a new thing. Like that's always
Oh
kind
shit,
of
you're
the
right.
mentality of the Marvel world, and a lot of people kind of forget that because you've been reading comics and watching comic movies for
Decades now.
many years. So to you it's not new, but the in universe is always written as like the Avengers, like especially the movies. The Avengers have only existed for like 10 years, and if like you talk about AI only existing for 10 years is definitely not like enough time for everyone to get used to it, and it's obviously, there's developments and everything.
It's growing
So
pains, yeah.
so in comics you kind of have to hold this idea and this perspective of how new superheroes are, and the concepts and the world building around how they interact with this concept that you're adding to make the story interesting. And that means that for characters like Captain America or Wolverine, Captain America originally I think he was only in ice for like 10 years, or no, not 10 years, something like 20 years or whatever, right? Um and then it was 40 years, and then now it's like 100 years because it's supposed to be for he's like he gets frozen after World War II, and he wakes up recently. That's the whole thing. So the more and more we move further away from World War II, the longer he has to stay in the ice. And for someone like Wolverine, who's supposed to be a war vet but that's kind of a mortal guy, um, different, like the movies take it a little different, but he starts off fighting in the Civil War. People write him in this starting fighting in the Civil War. So you have two ways to do it. Either you move the war that he was in, you just say he was in Vietnam, or you say he was in the Korean War. You just move it closer to when the time is, and just ignore the older wars. Or you have to establish that he's so much older than these people, like he's been fighting since the Civil War, and he's hundreds of years old. And so with these characters, because obviously time keeps moving, but they don't want that in the comics because
Sorry, I just
they
had to
have these
look up were
everything.
Canadians in the American Civil War, and they were. Okay.
Yes. Um, which is like another funny thing that has to do with comic, like the inconsistencies. But the lore has to change and mold for the time to tell the stories that they want. And so comics are very hard to get into. Like people, it's very a daunting force to try to get into comic books because the whole question of where do you start is so like where do you start? There's genuinely like 50 years for some characters of just like they never stopped getting printed comics. There was no break for the character. Like Spider-Man, since he was written, my bad, since he was written, has had comic books. Like there's been very few pauses for Spider-Man, and if it's not Peter Parker, then there's a different Spider-Man, or it's following a Spider-Man. It's following Venom or something. And so it's very daunting to get into. But the biggest thing of all is you just choose one because none of it matters. The stories are written by the the writers, and the writers are always changing. What they want to establish as is true in this universe or isn't true in this universe is per the story, and you just got to listen to that prologue. um Getting back into
Just
the love interest
constantly, yeah.
thing for tropes and stories, my biggest thing is one dimensionality. And so for someone who likes Teen Titans and like this idea of Robin being Robin for a longer time, just not with Batman and just being in Star City with the Titans and everything, being this older Robin, this teenager, and then going into Nightwing while with the Titans and being more of this adult figure and stuff. Um, I really like the Justice League um show, or the Young Justice show. My bad, not Justice League. And he becomes more of this leader figure and stuff like that. That is kind of what I prefer story wise. Those stories. Um, and so for me, it makes more sense. He spent more time with Starfire for them to be in a relationship. But a lot of times, the writers need Batman and Nightwing to be together. Nightwing's actually in Bloodhaven doing Nightwing stuff since he was like, I'm blowing this Popsicle stand. I hate this fucking place, and leaves Batman to go be Nightwing. And then it's like, oh, he's been kind of around the area for the entire time, and of course he's working with Barbara Gordon. She's Oracle. She's in the chair. She's Batgirl in some universes. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
they're working together. So of course they end up together. Um, so that whole thing of like, to me it's whatever makes the most sense romantically. I really do enjoy
When they have
um
genuine on-screen chemistry.
yeah, like developments and stuff like that, and not just women being women for the men. um I also think in another way I don't like love interests is that it is a trope to just give a character a
A
love
love interest for the
interest.
hell, because like, oh, it's an expected thing you're supposed to do. Let me just
There's
pop one in right here.
one of the things that kind of annoys me. I've read a decent bit of Moon Knight comics. I got into him about the time they're about to release the show. Wanted to catch up, read some stuff. And his origins are kind of they're older, so kind of fall into a lot of comic book tropes. But the way that he's written and the way that he's changed over the years, he really doesn't have a love interest. And even in the older comics, it's like you don't get a lot of time. There weren't a lot of comics. You don't really get a lot of time, and he's like Batman, where Batman does have love interests, especially like Catwoman, but
Hmm.
for him that's not the big thing. And for Moon Knight, he doesn't really have um a love interest. But then you go to watch the TV show, and of course he has a love interest there.
Because
You know,
shit, why wouldn't he
of
at this
course they
point?
throw
Yeah.
him. Yeah, and I do think that's because they're trying to make it Indiana Jones. I do think like Moon Knight was like they saw like the he gets to go to Egypt, he gets to do all this stuff and like try to throw Indiana Jones aspects into the mystery.
I didn't watch
But
it.
I don't like when they make
A
love
character for the
interests.
sake of it, like
I
she
think
has nothing else
yeah.
going on.
I mean she has some character, but it's like why do characters intrinsically need love
Need one of
interests?
these, yeah.
We think usually it does bring things in, but I would never introduce a love interest before the main character, is fully fleshed out. And I would never introduce that love interest as kind of a one dimensional, now she's here for the sake of the story arc.
Hmm.
Especially if the whole goal is, like we talked about before, is to be refrigerated or to be this kind of like, uh, uh,
Killed for
you
shock
know,
value, killed for emotional manipulation, which is also
yeah,
leading
like,
into the thing I wanted to say, which is like I genuinely hate when they only throw in a love interest because we need cheap, easy melodrama. Make them fuck someone else. I don't know.
yeah, it's just so sad because it just shows that like they're just like they don't care. Because then it's like that's the thing. If Mary Jane being with Spider-Man, I like, even though she's kind of now she's more rounded, but back then, but clearly for the greed of Marvel, they had the whole One More Day arc
Oh,
where they make a deal
the
with Mephisto, and everyone forgets that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and Mary Jane and Peter Parker are no longer married or anything. And it
the
pisses
Paul
me
thing.
off because it's like, of that too, but the main part just being like, why can't Spider-Man just have a loving girlfriend? Why can't he just have a loving wife? And the whole struggle is that he's a superhero
He has to.
and trying to be there with her. You know what I mean? Instead of
And
like
also, why can't she
shit
understand?
happening.
Like she's rational, or like from the
Yeah, that's a
pictures,
whole
she's
other
always like
thing where it's
very
like,
level-headed and grounded. She would understand like my boyfriend's fucking Spider-Man. Well,
I
he's not.
also
Well,
hate
he's
the
not fucking
bullshit.
Spider-Man, but he's, you know.
I hate the bullshit where it's like, well, it's like I just, you're not around, and like I understand it's difficult. That would be a difficult thing to go through,
Hmm.
but I really hate the whole like you're not around enough, and so I don't want to spend the rest of my life like this, because a lot of those conversations happen because they're like I want to talk to Spider-Man about how he's never around because he's too busy saving people, and then he's like
It's like,
they
oh
have a little
man, who
date.
do I have to
They only have
choose
enough to
from?
date. They only have enough time to go on a little date, and then he has to like blow the date to go save the day again. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't get to talk to him about it. I can't
It
deal with
feels.
this stressful stuff. It's scared."
Oh, where they
But
don't
then,
even talk
but
about it at all. Oh, I hate that
yeah, but
especially.
and then the whole thing is like I have to break up with Spider-Man because it's just too stressful being around him. What if he dies? What if I get injured? What if and then there's
It
in
always
real
feels
life
really
thousands of
mean-spirited
people, yeah, thousands of people who are married to police officers and
to like
doctors,
people overseas.
politicians. Yeah, there's so many things where people they love this person, and so that's why they stay with them and they go through the things because especially for someone like a doctor
It,
or a
it,
police
to
officer,
clarify,
it's a
I'm sure
noble
nobody's using,
thing.
using this as a fucking excuse. To clarify, if you're at the altar right now and having this thought like, oh, I don't know if I should marry them, talk about it with your
Yeah, it's
partner.
also it's like so stupid because there's so many dangerous things people going to the military. There's there's so many dangerous jobs that people stay together with, and what again, whether or not that's good for them, whether or not, I talked about police officers, whether or not, no, there's no moral attachment to the job. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about that there's people who do like sacrifice
Jobs
that and
that put them at
understand that,
risk.
and and especially in a situation when you're writing the comic, you could just make sure that
They talk.
those things, yeah, that they talk and stuff like they're just choosing that to have cheap, shitty tension. Uh, is there something you want to go on a rant about? Because I do have to use the bathroom really quick.
Oh, I can just pause if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, let me just and alright, we're back. While he was gone, I've been playing Plants vs Zombies on my phone here. They've really fucked this game over with microtransactions, man. It's so upsetting.
Okay, what were we on?
We're on love
Love
interests.
interests.
I think we were wrapping up.
Yeah. Overall, my things are.
I
I
wish you
think
did more with it, practically, is what we're
yeah,
trying to
love
say.
interests are just they're usually just used as
Cheap fodder for whatever tension they want this
yeah,
proverbial
and
episode.
when romance is like supposed to be a big thing, and I also think there's only a few things like other than rom-coms, especially like in anime and stuff. There's only a few pieces of media that kind of talk about like I think the two good ways you could do it, um, or main ways is a love interest, one solo love interest, love of their life, but they have rough patches, but they keep on getting through it, right?
Hmm.
And the other one is person who's currently stuck dating, just going through a bunch of bad stuff. And I think one of my favorite things, and this is going to show how, unfortunately, I am a man. I do love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, not just the movie. I have the books. I love the
He has
books.
to jump to his own defense. I
It's
like.
the
I
movies
know
are
he has the books because I had to carry it on my
they
backpack for a
suck.
few days because I think he was like out of school and I recovered it from him for a class.
They suck. They suck. The movies and the I haven't even watched the newer TV show because I just I personally don't necessarily partake in Zionism and
Okay.
being an IDF soldier. So
I didn't
I
even
don't know
know all
if
that shit
that's
was
gonna get
happening.
like you shadow banned.
Oh,
Uh,
probably, but like, what am I really popular?
yeah. Uh. But yeah, that's my whole thing on love interest. Um. Let's go into one of yours so I can take a break speaking.
Where
Um.
I lead? Okay. Which one do you want to talk about? I don't. This is the first time where I don't have the notes. He's feeding them to me. I'm a
You
hamster,
want
and
to talk about
he's the little food pump.
timers? Timers.
Oh, I
Tic
love timers and
ticking
stories.
clocks.
Yeah, yeah,
Ticking
yeah.
clocks. That's the word.
That's good because my endless wave. I just reached well, not endless. My survival pool. I just reached flag 3, so I can take a break. Um, I have a great fucking
Oh, let
fire
me
piece set
before
up.
we start. Um, my girlfriend says hi to you.
Oh,
I was texting her while using the bathroom.
Tell her I said hello. Uh, I
She said, "Can
fucking
I be in that video?"
was that genuine?
Yeah, that she asked if me telling you that she said hi can be in the
Oh,
video.
I thought you meant can she be in the video like right now? Okay.
Oh no, 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 no.
I'm like, I'll drop everything. Yeah,
I do
okay.
plan on having her on videos on my channel though.
So
Eventually, about talking about
if you like
stuff.
a woman's voice, that sounds I that you know what? That felt weird. I'm not gonna continue this. Uh,
Yeah, let's not
especially after what we
yeah.
did. Anyway,
You guys,
I
if you're
love
not
timers.
that no one's listening to this, but if you're listening to this and you're weird, just reflect. Just
Yeah,
reflect. If you heard a woman's voice and you wanted to make some
and
joke,
you perked up.
just you're nasty.
Anyway, I
And just
do
revel in that. Yeah.
revel in that. It's still reflect, not revel.
No, they like I want them to like
Party about it,
yeah, feel bad about themselves.
like with a little birthday streamer. Go. Anyway, I do
Yeah.
love timers and stories because one of my biggest things, and I'm gonna jump the gun here. The Chekov's gun, check mark there. I'm gonna jump the gun here because something I don't like. I think I have expressed this in several videos before. Is slice of life the genre? It's not for me. I'll accept that. I understand it's made for someone who is not me.
That's a different thing, bro. You're connecting
Yeah,
two ideas. What the
and
fuck?
it's this thing called like a bubble map. Ever drew one of those? A double bubble map? Dude, those fuck. Anyway, I know I've brought up a few times how much like slice of life is not for me, and that's fine. You can make things that aren't for me, but I'll be upset. But it's fine. But I like timers because they kind of prevent, and I do like monotony, but timers kind of prevent monotony in stories from setting in. It lets it creep in, but doesn't let it set, right? Timers constantly pushing your characters forward, be it stopping the villain, be it getting to a location to deliver important news, be it just researching something that they think might be vital in the coming weeks, or they're preparing for the next thing. It does a few things for you as a writer very well. First, it pushes you to keep your story moving. It pushes you to continue writing because if you, both meta and non-meta sense, for the non-meta sense, like, oh yeah, you know, people are going to want to see what happens next, so it keeps you writing because you have to like build up to that. And also for the non-meta sense, you are likely really looking forward to the climax of your story, or whatever, or the next like hump of your arc, like the crest of it. So knowing in the back of your mind, okay, timer's ticking down, characters are gonna go do this by this time. I want to write towards that to emphasize the scene that I'm really working on. That's one thing that timers really well that do timers do really well rather. Another thing is making your
They keep
characters.
time really well.
They do. Another thing is believe it or not. Another thing timers are really good for is having characterization. Sure, it's kind of like one note flat characterization. Well, not really, but like one kind of characterization. If your characters are actively thinking ahead and plotting and scheming and thinking, how can I be one step ahead of insert event here? That makes your characters feel like a full person because they're thinking laterally, they're thinking things through, they're considering things, and secret shadow tip, it lets you get ahead of criticism. If you care about that, you shouldn't be afraid of it. I guess it lets you be ahead of assholes. You know the type.
I think
You
as
they
well
bring
as
up in the
that
comments like, why don't they do X? Why don't they do Y? If you show your characters thinking through things rationally, weighing everything and putting it in context, it helps get rid of those ahead of time. You can go ahead.
and you know what I'm gonna help jump a bunch of topics together. You brought up slice of life. I do think um with that, let's talk about D&D, right?
Hmm.
Say I want my I want to railroad my players to, after a certain amount of gameplay time or amount of events that they do or things they get done, I want this thing to happen for them, right? And I'm planning on you have multiple usually as a DM, and you should set up multiple options of the same type of event where it's like the Tarask shows up, or this shows up, or this shows up, for like different options that they could have went down, right?
Fun
It's like,
fact, in the Dungeon Master's Guide it says if you're lost on what to do, you should roll some dice behind your screen, sigh audibly, place down a miniature of Tiamat, and loudly announce that Tiamat has landed in the city square and you should roll for initiative.
don't do that.
But it
Um,
is in the DMG.
uh, I think setting a timer, and I think this works both ways. I think a critique of setting a timer, and what I
Oh, that's
usually
perfectly
don't
valid.
like about what happens, is people timers in fiction aren't real, and
Definitely.
therefore they're not telling time. And so, really, you can have, if I'm saying, if in game time they have 2 days to do stuff, that's like 4 fucking sessions, which their sessions are 24 hours, but that's still like less than 2 days or way more than 2 days of time, depending on how much they dilly dally or how much this happens, or you know what I mean.
How long
And
combat
so,
takes, too, yeah.
yeah, combats too, like really, like I have plans of like,
Time
oh,
isn't
these
real in
things
a
should
story.
happen. Like these should happen the same day for the characters and everything. But sometimes you take 2 whole sessions to do a combat, and you go, you know what, fuck it, let's speed run this part because I don't want my players to feel bad. And the players are the audience, and I think in stories
Whenever you're trying
as
to write,
well.
you should be writing for the audience. Especially, I mean, if it's a private project, you're writing for you. But you are the audience, so it still
Yeah,
counts.
I think one of the things that happened, this thing I'm trying to get to, if I can speak well, is that um time dilation feels bad. And this is jumping the gun again. Um, Especially in adaptations from stories
Ooh, to
to some
movie
sort of
especially.
visual. Yeah, time dilation fucking sucks because when you're writing a story, uh, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, one of the
We
worst.
talked about that in Stranger Things video.
Dude, JoJo's is amazing. It's a wonderful story. If you haven't read it or watched it, go do that
Just raise
now.
his hand.
Stop watching now. Go do that. All of it. Um, but a very famous critique of part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, and this is spoilers, so if you care, don't listen. But
I'm glad we're putting
at
this
the
ahead of
very
time
end,
because when we talked about it in the last video, we were just we midway we're like, oh, by the way, this is like major spoilers as we're talking about the antagonists of each fucking part.
um, the final Dio and Jotaro fight, Dio being the bad guy, Jotaro being the good guy, I guess. He's a fucking asshole. Um, the big thing is in the books they're fighting, and the fight doesn't take that long. It's say like a 15-minute fight. Fights aren't that long. Maximum, I think it would
That's
last
still
15 minutes
really
as someone
long.
who's read the pages. And they're having these
Slender.
conversations because he's a good storyteller and he uses the characters very well to vocalize.
What's his
But the
name?
problem is
Rocky? Is that the guy?
Araki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um but the problem is on a page, you in your head can read multiple sentences very like in a matter of seconds.
Hmm.
But if you're saying them, they take longer to come out of your mouth. And so in the anime, um, when they're having these fights, they're using in
Oh,
the
the
story.
6 second thing, or however long the time stop is, and it doesn't add up. People have
Um,
always said about that.
well, that is one of them. I'm talking about there's specifically these things. They're using their stands to kick the ground and wall really hard. They're not flying, but they're basically launching themselves around and fighting, and they're having these conversations in air. And their air time's fucking crazy, but it's not because they're supposed to be in the air for a second. But in the book, there's so much information that's being shared verbally that now, the 1 second exchanges, or you're reading one page and that's going to the next a couple of seconds later, have turned into 30-second spiels per person, and it's just a long. They're in the air for a very very long time, and it takes you out of it because this is supposed to be some high stakes thing, and they fucking yap in JoJo's. They like the anime can be rough if you hate long dialogue because sometimes it's like, holy shit. get on with it. And I think that's a problem that can happen when you set timers. Is the audience automatically now expects things to, even if it's a short term or long term timer, that well, all of part three is on a long term timer because the whole thing's Jotaro's mom, Joseph's uh, daughter is Holly, and the whole thing is Dio, blah blah blah. People get stands now, and Holly's will is not strong enough to have a stand, but for some reasons within the story, her stand has conjured, and so it's beating her ass, right? It's like eating her body because it's stronger than she is, so she can't control it, and it's just harming her. And so they have to fucking track down Dio to go kill him or figure something out so that she doesn't die. And so they go on this trek, which I think is supposed to be, I think they have like 2 weeks or like maybe it's like a month or something. But the whole show, even though obviously the show isn't 3 months or not 3 months, 3 weeks long, it feels like it takes fucking forever because in your mind you're like, hurry your ass up. But every single episode they're fighting a new guy and this happened, this, that. And because it's again like there's so much dialogue compared to the manga, and watching a TV show is a different medium, it feels so monotonous to get through shit when you know in the back of your mind you're fucking there's crazy shit that they do, like they're stopping to get tea, they're stopping to get directions and blah blah blah. They're fucking they're
Yeah,
hanging out,
that
they're
was
stopping at a hotel for a couple days, they're waiting around, and they're one of the mom and the daughter of two of these individuals is fucking actively dying. And you just go, what is it? You get because they have flashback of being like, oh, this is for Holly. And you go, oh shit, why aren't you guys hurrying it up? Like you guys are just fucking.
your
And
mom's fucking dying.
obviously, there's explanations like you're saying because he's a good writer and they do explain certain things. Um, like there's explanations of like why they're doing things, because they can't travel by plane because they tried doing that and Dio sends a guy, and they tried doing it by boat and Dio sends a guy, and so there's like a specific way they need to transport themselves. They're getting stopped on their journey, right?
On
But
the bizarre adventure.
that's a thing that I think you need to watch out for, and that
Yeah,
I don't like is that once you set that timer,
you've said
people are
it.
going to
Yeah.
you overly analytic, like why, like it doesn't matter if there's an explanation, it just feels bad that they're taking so long or that all these things happen. And in the anime, obviously you're trying to, supposed to be a show, so you can't just have a short story, you can't have like a short story anime, or most of the time, you know what I mean. So like they're dragging it out and it just feels way worse, it just feels so bad that this stuff is happening. And um yeah, that's like the big spiel. And as you said, the time dilation where he stops time and he's yapping for fucking like clearly longer than the 3 seconds he has. It's just, that's like an important thing to remember. Obviously, don't write your projects being like this is going to be a TV show one day. But
Never.
if you're
Never.
adapting, if you're trying to adapt, this is for anything. If you're trying to adapt something, keep in mind like the
Constraints.
differences of like what the original was doing and what you're trying to do with it
And what
is
you
always going
physically
to be
can do.
different. Yeah. If I'm trying to, if I want to do a painting of one of this guy's fucking online fanfics that he's written, right? Or whatever. And I'm like, I want to capture the emotion of it. I have to understand I can't capture the whole story, right? I can
Yeah,
only capture
there's
a scene.
context that he can't
And
grab.
within a scene, that you can put movement and stuff, but there's only so much time in one single frame that you can fit. And so when you're painting, of course that seems like no duh, of course you can't paint the entire story. um but I think it gets lost to people that sometimes between things that aren't as clear as like a short story. I think another great example of it getting fucked up is Saw the indie film versus Saw the movie versus Saw the franchise. It's like
Dude,
the
it's
reason
bad.
you have to understand why the things are good. This is good in this situation because it's a short film, because it's this. It loses some of the charm, but this is good as just a standalone film because of these reasons. And then you make it a series and you go, what the fuck's going on here? even though
The
it's
the
the same
videos where people
quality.
calculate all of John Kramer's money.
Dude, and it's like it's the same. All of the other movies are not worse or better than the original Saw. The original Saw sucks,
It's not a good movie,
but because of the
but it's a good story.
context, yes, but the context of what it is and how the movie's shot and everything, within context, you go, "Oh, this is fun. This was good." But the moment you change that context to, well, there's more movies, and you go, "What possibly could they fucking write about? What possibly made me want to
It gets
have a
way
second one of
worse
these?"
after three, because in
Yeah,
three he fucking dies. So they have to keep because Tobin Bell's in all of them, by the way. The actor for John Kramer, he's in all of them, and also in the two official Saw tie-in games, only video game roles. He's in literally all of them, so they have to contrive reasons like, "Oh, this is a John Kramer told me to do this," and he'll show up and be like, "Hey, it's me, I'm fucking Jigsaw." Or we see his backstory like 7 different times, and every time it keeps getting more convoluted.
of like why he's killing. Yeah, so that's a huge thing. Is like when you said it in another that it's actually another timer said he has cancer. He doesn't.
He
Well,
has
you go like,
cancer, and then his son dies, and then he's briefly a drug addict, and then he gets scammed, and then there was a fifth one, and then he gets in a car crash,
and it's like
and then he starts
he's
killing
supposed
people.
to die. You know he's supposed to die because he dies in the third movie, and now you're having these flashbacks, and it's like now it's getting kind of crazy. How much shit did he fit into those? That's like it's fucking 2 years. I think
So I have to
it's
say, like,
like
it's not a long period of time for
it's
him to be
not a
doing this
long
shit.
period of time for him to go to fucking Mexico or whatever the fuck to get brain surgery by these sketchy ass people and get scammed and then set up an entire fucking trap. Like
Because
that's
also
crazy.
he had his terminal diagnosis a while before he got into the
Because this
crash
is
too.
after Amanda. That's after Amanda. Because
Yeah,
she's in that movie. So it's like, what the fuck's going on here? That he's like about to die in that movie, like chronologically. He's about to die and he's doing all this shit. It goes, you look at that timer that's been set by these movies and you go, no, that's bullshit.
like
That doesn't
genuinely,
feel right.
John Kramer is fucking psychotic. Like obviously he's crazy, but I mean like he's fucking psychotic in like what his scale. Because with timers, I feel like I want to say timers are great. I personally believe as an arc rather than your overarching like hanging noose or like sort of Damocles hanging over your head. I think it's better as like an arc, so you can briefly let it be like a cattle prod to your story, where like you shock it to get it moving, and then once it's done, it's done. You don't have to keep doing more and more and more timers. I mean, if you like that, sure, go ahead. But like you said before, when you set a timer, you can't have all these little itty bitty. Well, you can, but it gets harder to justify all of these itty bitty details. When you're in timer mode, you're in crunch mode. You don't have time for characterization. Saw didn't get this memo, however, because as the Saw movies go on, it becomes a drama, and also people are in traps just in the background, just like for fun. Even though it's like genuinely what happened by like Saw 6. I don't remember.
I don't even fucking know. Yeah, that's like a whole thing. It's the all of that. Oh,
The Saw
going back
effect.
to the list, talking about timers.
Checking it twice.
Um, I touched about this a little bit, which I do think is again like pacing of the story. I was talking about old comics versus new, like how lore works in comics. Um, I think that also ties into timer because in your head, for certain characters, um, you know what? Okay, do you want to just kind of skip to something? Skip here, or do you want to do? Because we only have a couple left. And I think what we can go from is we can go into kind of famous works and go into that um
Okay.
type of stuff.
Is there anything we haven't done? And then we can just pick and choose which ones we think I like to focus on.
Right now
Yeah, for the tropes.
left is the hero's journey.
Oh, I
We
do want to
have
talk about that.
cooking scene, and then we didn't fully go into slice of life.
Yeah, I can skim past cooking scenes. I have a whole fucking video on food and fantasy, so I feel like people know my opinion on it. I love it. Um, I've briefly mentioned it, but I don't think I ever got into it. Everyone has seen those graphs and charts of the hero's journey or the hero's arc, right? Everyone's seen the graphs and charts. Shit, they show you this in school, like story pacing climax charts. Chart. Let me just make sure. Yeah,
Okay, I'm
the
looking up
plot chart.
too.
Yeah, yeah. Of like right, Act One, Act Two, Act Three, rising action, climax, falling action, and then the hero's journey one. So I can bring it up specifically. Journey.
Like
That is
the
nice.
circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Call to Adventure, uh, Aid, Threshold, the second half of Threshold, Mentor, Challenges, Abyss, Transformation, Atonement, Return, over and over again. I, with as much passion as I can put into it, with almost all of my soul, with with definites, I do not believe I will ever back down on this. I fucking hate these charts so very much. I genuinely despise them because, sure, at a glance, makes sense. But the information they show is either blatantly wrong or actively harmful to new writers.
And here's this is you gotta explain to me. I think the hero's journey is good. I think it's a good metric. I think it's a nice circle. I think it's a
But okay,
good
do you at least agree with me on
guideline.
the plot one?
What do you mean?
The one where it's like rising action, climax, falling action. I really hate that one because it shows approximate length. I don't like that.
I okay, the approximate length I can get, it kind of puts you, but I also think that one's fine. It works for a reason. It's true.
It does work
You
for a
set
reason,
something up, you
but
build towards it, it happens, and then you need to ease people back down. It's like anything good in life, you do that. Drugs, alcohol, sex, comic books, Overwatch. That's what
Overwatch. Hold on.
happens. No, I do
Everything else.
think
You're so right, but like Overwatch, come on.
I think a little bit I can agree with you a little bit on the arc of a story. But I mean it's the whole point is that it's there easy to be I think this is distinctly separate from
Me
Chekhov's
think.
gun because Chekhov would just made a statement to be like this and it took off with young writers.
And this
This
is
is
like an average of
genuinely
stories.
this is genuinely babies first. Like they teach you this in like elementary and middle school
I hate it
to how to
partially
write
because of that. Is
stories.
because like, oh, it's comforting. I know this, so I'm gonna keep it. It doesn't encourage growth, which sure, you don't always need to grow from. I guess the fundamentals, they're fundamental for a reason, right? They're always good, they're always stable, you can always come back to it. It's a cushion. Not a crutch, because we're not going to call things crutches, but it is like it is the fundamentals. You can always come back to it, but it is pretty restrictive. I'd straight up say, like if you're follow, and obviously like oh you're not supposed to follow it to a T, and I understand that, but it also doesn't with these charts alone. And again, not supposed to use just these alone, but with these charts, it doesn't show you proper pacing. It doesn't show you how to extrapolate upon that. Hell, for the hero's journey, it throws a bunch of terms at you, and the terms are easy to grasp, sure, but they're they're hard to like string together for someone who's like this is their first protagonist or even like their second or third. Because I've finding time for characterization, finding time for winding down is possibly the most important thing you can do at all for like
I was
a
gonna
consistent through line story, which these charts don't really show you. Because
I
sure, we
will
like to
agree
see them
with
working
that,
towards something, but they need to be a character before they can be your main character, and this does
especially
not help.
for time what we were talking about with the time.
Mhm.
I think another thing that you're talking about, like it shouldn't be your big story. I think like having the whole story revolved around a timer is it puts you in a really sticky place because while while the other things are true of like you can't now you're stuck to a specific pacing like people have this in their mind you can't be doing too much or whatever. I think like you're saying there's the audience always needs room to breathe, and there's a reason why certain videos on YouTube do a lot better, and like
Hmm.
certain cadences do a lot better when talking about specific contents and comic book stories and stuff is another, it's like a huge thing in the comic book lore. The you While you could explain so much in 30 minutes, you want to make sure things are easily grabbable. And I think this is another reason why, ironically, um you talk about, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Tolkien's work. One of the reasons why people don't get into it, even though a lot of the hero's journey is like based off that fantasy, and that like is classic hero's journey, is that he has amazing world building. And if you don't give a fuck about world building, it's just too
It's just dudes
much.
walking.
It's just too much to intake and care about, unless you do already care about it. And so it's one of those things where it's written for a specific type of people. That's fine. But I mean, when you're talking about overall writing, like, obviously I can't shit on Tolkien, can't shit on Chekov, can't shit on, people who are successful and great. But when reading, sometimes it's too much, and you just need a breather. I think that's also why, like, once you get into The Hobbit, once you get into Lord of the Rings, I think why it works so well is because there's so many resting points that he allows you to have, where that let you sit with that information. And while it can feel like a textbook sometimes, it feels nice to have all that information available, because it's also written a way where you can kind of skip it if you don't want to deal with it, I feel like. And so that is a thing. I think the hero's journey, like you're saying, doesn't, and the other thing, doesn't really give good pacing and stuff. And to be fair, I think a good book is, I think, and this might be very arrogant to say right now, but I do think a good story is built upon having everything simple. I think this is also like most art, is having a simple concept that is intriguing and delivering it in a very, um I don't want to say easy way, easy to digest,
Accessible,
cuz
I guess?
obviously,
Because accessible doesn't necessarily
uh
denote difficulty of grasping it. It just means it's easy to, like, the barrier for entry is pretty low.
yeah, it's giving it to you it's giving it to you on a spoon, but like it's not a guarantee of like the flavor is gonna be easy to take. You know what I mean? Like, you can eat a papaya with a spoon the same that you can eat mayo, and those are two different flavor profiles that
Are you
will
saying
offend different
because what I
people.
said was really smart, or are you saying because you're
uh,
eating whipped cream?
uh, but
It's a
yeah, that,
classic.
like, I think it the vessel needs to be easy.
Needs to be
It needs
baked
to be
already.
uncomplicated, because for I think this is we're getting into kind of crazy stuff here. I think a lot of problem with uh baby writers who are queer is that queerness is an important thing to show and be proud of in your
Hmm.
writing. Um, Obviously it's a beautiful thing, and I think a lot of stories
I can see your hand
are
motions physically,
enhanced.
by the way.
Are I'm playing with my hair, so it's not what you're thinking.
Damn.
Uh, it's one of those things where I think they make the mistake of trying to overcomplicate and try to put so much into what they're trying to express. For example, let's talk about like gender queerness. In a story, in a song, or in a painting, you would want to there's so much that you want to convey. There's so much
I'm
that
nodding,
you
yeah.
want someone to understand from uh uh participating in the art and watching it, whatever way that you're giving it to them. And I think the it always works best in the opposite way. On the other end, what I'm talking about, it always fails and flops when you're trying to force the base concept isn't there, right? Everything has a base concept that you can boil it down to, but the foundation, that's the word, isn't there. For example, I think, just trying to convey, if we take songwriting, for example, you're trying to convey this idea of, let's say, self-hate, your body
Hmm.
dysmorphia, and feeling ostracized in the world, and just really really hating yourself, and the intricacies of hating yourself, when and you're aware that you don't hate yourself, you hate the world and how it makes you
Who
view
perceives you?
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is too much for a song. Obviously, there's people who could fit all of that in a song, but to say that that's going to be a good song is it's not. I
Especially to
wouldn't
say
bet
it's going
on
to be
it.
a good like first starting out in music song.
Yeah, it's not. But if you take a very one part of that, and you talk about how um you you write a song, and the basis of the song, and what's make driving you to the song is just the concept of how you forget that you don't look how you think you do, how you don't think about yourself most of the time, and it's
Mhm.
only those times that you catch that glimpse in the mirror when you're walking by it, that it really hits you like, oh, that's what I look like. I forgot that that's what I look like. And it's not, you don't even need, it doesn't even need to be in a negative way or anything, but you use that to build the story from,
Mhm.
in your music. And it can get complicated. You can hit all these nuances, right? Like we said, like the thing that you're eating, the actual content, can be this complex thing that not everyone will get, not everyone will like. But the vessel in which you're moving it, of just this basic concept, of this kind of simplified idea of
Should at least
everything,
give them a way
it
to
it
see for themselves if it will be something they like or something it will be something that they.
well, it gives it structure on a baseline, on an
Oh, yeah,
undernote
that's also pretty
of
important
like
too.
not trying to bit too much thing, because obviously you can hit all these intricacies while telling 100 different things.
Yeah,
But
but if your
if
story
you
gets
really
bloated,
narrow
yeah.
down, yeah, the whole thing is, if you really narrow it down, and you are focused, and your main focus is telling this niche specific concept that you feel is important, then you can get nitty picky on everything, and you can get really deep into everything, but it can't ever be too bloated in that way. And I think that is like something that the hero's journey sets you up for failure with.
Hmm.
It's trying to, like, in the ordinary world. So that's like the first thing. You need to have this whole concept of what is the ordinary set up. Call to adventure, refuse of the call, meeting the mentor. You need someone to call to the event. You need like a
Like your mentor,
catalyst to start
Gandalf
that.
figure, yeah.
You need a reason why the person wouldn't want to do this, and then you need a mentor. You already need practically three fully fledged characters, and that's what the start of the story is supposed to be.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then meeting them, and then crossing the threshold. Now you're into the special world. You're now into everything. Test allies, enemies, approach of the to the inmost cave, the ordeal, the reward. There, that's like of course it's any story, but that's just like, now that's the meat of it.
It makes
But
it makes it a checklist rather than making it a process.
yeah, but that part where they're trying to say this is the meat of it is not like the setting up of the ordinary world. I think also I agree with you, because calling it the ordinary world is kind of stupid, because then it's trying to say, like, when you go to crossing the threshold, this is a different reality. And
Yeah.
even in a book like Narnia, where you are going to a different place, the world that you're setting up as ordinary, I think just saying ordinary world will make people think, oh, it's important to have the distinction between, plane A and plane B. But I think the more important thing in story writing would be how plane A is the same as plane B. How the way that characters interacted with the world, they're kind of taking for granted. It's not a this world is different from this world. It's the characters perceive this world different from this world for whatever reason.
Because
And I
now they're
think,
like looking at it from new angles or like interacting with it in different ways
yeah,
that they hadn't before.
and the whole point is that when you get back to that, when you get
That they are a
you
different person now.
you
They've
get the
underwent
whole,
growth, they've changed, the plot is resolved, etc.
yeah,
But
exactly.
again, the
They're
chart
going
makes it
back to the
feel like a
ordinary
fucking
world.
checklist.
Yeah, they're going back to the ordinary world, and the ordinary world has not changed at all. They have changed. So the special world doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to set up a difference between the ordinary world and special world. What matters in this phase is to
Is the
set up
growth.
the themes of your story, to set up what is important, what you want this character to do, and saying refusal to call. Obviously, this is boiling down for the thing, but the refusal to call isn't the refusal to call. That's saying that's where you go. This is my character's uh, beliefs.
Mhm.
This is what they refuse
To accept
to
or
compromise
to
on.
act on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's it's not even necessarily a refuse to the call because the call can be anything. The call to adventure can be anything,
Yeah, it's also
and
phrased really poorly. Like sometimes the character would not refuse this, but other things are happening that make the process difficult or put burrs in it, right?
yeah,
Like say they would love right now, like many of us I'm sure would be willing to walk into the woods, go into a portal and go become a hero or some shit. But you have siblings or you have like loved ones here or you have to like provide for someone so you can't drop that. It's not really you're refusing the call, it's like you have other things to put obligation for. Obviously you don't like put this one-to-one in your story, that's not the most interesting, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like the way it's phrased makes it really rigid, and people, newer writers, feel like, well, I can't break away from it, this is what all the good writers trademark do, so I guess I have to follow along with this, to the detriment of your story or detriment of your characters. Sure, maybe not the whole story, maybe not the whole character, but at the beginning, the part where people are more likely to drop you than to continue on with you at the beginning? Surely not, right? And it just gets worse from there. Yeah.
I
Ugh.
think I think one of the things for me, um, with the hero's journey and with it, I do agree is uh overall just of course it's supposed to be cookie cutter. It's supposed to be this introduction,
It's a
but
stencil.
also it's kind of used. It's also kind of used as like
Admonishment, like, you didn't follow this. It's like a threat.
yeah. It's very, even though it's kind of a baby concept, it's kind of it
It's
is held
lauded as this
important within.
high art, incredibly intricate technique, but
It's
I
really
think
not,
it's
and
kind of
I
bad.
think my girlfriend's gonna be mad at me, but because I've shit on movies that don't have necessarily a uh
Point.
a point to the end or whatever, and the whole part is the journey, and the whole point is whatever.
Mhm.
But I do think movies are very boring when they hit these markers because it's like, of course, maybe it's because it's all everyone's seen, but I do think it's very uninspired for the story
Writers
to
for the
be
story. Yeah.
the story to be character needs to learn a lesson. Opportunity to learn lesson happens. They
It's
learn the
Hallmark movie.
lesson. Now everything's happy. Yeah, it's very so shitty, and it's like what I think this has less of a point. A movie like this has less of the point of like a movie that ends with very little character development or ends with character development in niche weird ways, like Dead Poet Society or something like that.
That's part of why I don't like
Um,
the remake, the that like the color remake of All Quiet on the Western Front, because they changed the ending like substantially. I haven't watched it, right? Because I heard about the ending change and I was like, wow, that's ass. I'm not gonna watch that. Because All Quiet on the Western Front, the original, ends with the main character dying a pointless death from a sniper. Really anticlimactic, and obviously it's like an anti-war thing, has an incredible important point at that, and it's pretty poignant. New one, he is doing a valiant last charge, bayonet charge to enemy trench, and it cuts to black. Ooh, war's bad. Come on, it would people would have loved it if they just kept the he dies unknown, pointlessly, and in a very upsetting way. But they, I don't. Why did I talk? Whatever. Point is, be, the way people feel like they need to do X thing, X thing, X thing rubs me the wrong way. And these charts are, in my opinion, like the fucking heart of that issue. Maybe
I'll
not like the
have
vital part, but
to.
like the heart of that issue.
When you're going back, do you watch the videos before you upload them?
Occasionally.
I would like you to go through this. Maybe not necessarily just to edit stuff in, but uh, like images of the hero's journey just on screen and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But specifically to remind me, for this part, this is where it's gonna go right now. There's this album that my girlfriend and I listened to that we picked up, and it's called like I think it's World War World War One. I don't remember the name. It's fuck.
Is it one like
It's
isn't
it's
it
like
it's like an attack or
the
something?
the rise. It's like the rise and fall of just the guy's name. Then it's like the
Fuck.
guy's name, and it's about this fake character. So the artist made so this art the songwriter had a friend who's writing a book and had poems for a character within that story, and the guy made those poems into music for this album. But that out like but the fact that it's made with like made into music has a story from this guy, and the story is kind of not good. No hate sending to anyone or to anything. I thought the album and the songs were fun, but the story is there's this guy who's born rich. This is a very small synopsis, and this is all like in the on the cover, sleeve cover, and everything. And there's extra stuff. I think this might be extra stuff because of the version of the album we got. But uh, it's this rich guy who's rich, and he loves writing poems, and then he gets drafted, and he writes poems about the terrors of war, and then he dies, like he gets ran over by one of their own tanks, and he's British, by the way.
Hmm.
um and so he gets ran over by one of the tanks, and basically his letter gets out, like, or these poems get out that he wrote, and maybe it's insinuating that he himself actually survived and hand delivered them to someone, or there's some cryptic individual who's like shell shocked and dirty delivering these. But they go out and they go unnoticed in the ethos for many years with some praise of they use a real life guy to praise this fictional character's thing, a real guy who died in the war, which is I feel like
It
is
feels
or didn't die in
a
the war,
little weird or
fought
maybe
in the war and then
disrespectful.
died. Yeah, but there's plenty of like I think Mick Jagger's in the story too later on. But basically this guy, his poems kind of get like a cult following of like, oh, this is really good of like the terrors of war. And then later on it gets republished, the poems get republished and blah blah blah, and like seen in the photo with Mick Jagger, and people get really interested into the poems, and a lot of like avant-garde artists um and smaller artists make the poems into music, and that's what the album is. The album is one of these people making this like in for love of these poems, making them into music and taking their take on it. um and obviously a lot of all of this is fictional. It's just like a guy wanted to make music for his friend's character, and they interpolated lore for that. But I feel like his death there, like you were talking about at the All Quiet on the Western Front, his death there of just getting randomly ran over by a tank is so just like, who genuinely would care? He's this rich asshole
It's just a
who
guy.
thinks he's profound, writes some shitty poems about being at war, which plenty of people did, and some random ass war veteran is just like, I like these the most because it really captures it, but they're okay. And again, this is not to be like mean to the people who wrote the poems. It's just if you're telling me the story and I'm expected to care about it, it's like, well, it's the whole within music. There's this kind of theme. There's a lot of popular songs that sing about a song that was so amazing, or sing about something that was so amazing, and the song's about that thing, but it doesn't include it. For example, you have like "The Pick of Destiny" by the Tenacious D. Fuck Jack Black. He is a Israeli sympathizer and cut off a lifelong best friend for the interest of playing Bowser in fucking Disney movies for corporate Israeli propaganda. I just don't like that guy anymore because he's a prick for that reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, digress. In that thing, they talk about the greatest rock song that ever was when they're beating the devil in a very in the same way. The devil went down to Georgia. I don't know if specifically the riffs in those songs were supposed to do it, but I'm pretty sure he says like it was something like this. So it's like supposed to be not necessarily, but it's like oh they're singing about this song that was so great, but they can't remember it. They also have a song called Tribute, and maybe that's the song. I'm getting my things mixed up. Should didn't do a lot of research, but they also have a tribute that may be the same song where it's a tribute to the best rock song that they've ever sung, um, and it sounds like these. They describe like what it would sound like, but they don't actually play it because when you leave it to the imagination, it's so much greater. And very famous brain dead take that people have, including Anthony Fantano. Fuck that guy too. Um, that in the Beatles uh, album, I think it's Abbey Road. Yes, it's on the Abbey Road melody. Um, uh, what's it called? What's the song that goes into Carry That Way?
I don't know the Beatles.
Summer. Let me look it up. I'm too tired to remember things off the top of my head. Uh, Golden Slumbers. In Golden Slumbers, there's a line he sings. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing you. I will sing a lullaby. Then he goes into the louder part where he starts belting golden slumbers fill your eyes, right?
Hmm.
And then the song ends before going into Carry That Way with sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing you a lullaby very soft. And then it goes into this big loud song, boy, you're gonna carry that weight for for that thing. And there's a brain dead take where they go, well, that's not a lullaby. He says, I'll sing you a lullaby. Then he starts screaming. Where's the lullaby you're talking about, Paul? It's like, you fucking dipshit. He said he's just saying he's going to sing it. He's not good. It's not in the song. It's not in the song. He's just, we're talking about,
Why would he
he's trying to
break
build a
pace to
story.
just start like whispering?
Yeah, and it's in those songs where you see, oh, they don't put the thing. Well, first of all, Golden Slumbers is an adaptation of an old lullaby itself. Um, so it's not even like Paul McCartney fully wrote it. Obviously, most of the parts, but that little part, and I'll sing you a lullaby, um, and certain aspects of it are have been written for years. Um, but for Tenacious D and the other things, leaving to the imagination is an important part. And when you go into the story and you go, well, in the story he gets traction. These stories are seemed profound, and I look at the poems, I go, this just seems like a guy wrote them. It's not because I think you suck as a writer. It's because you in the story you're playing up this stuff as like some good shit, and I look and it's just some shit. You know what I mean? It's like if I was like in if I was writing a story or in D&D was telling you like, "Oh, there's this bard and he sings the best things," right? And then I go, "Hello, I'm the bard. I'm about to
I
sing
think
you
the
the best
best
thing."
thing.
And then I play you fucking Wonderwall on the guitar. You go, that fucking sucked. That was terrible. Doesn't matter how well my performance is. It's not the best thing you've ever heard. Therefore, it's underwhelming. And if I go, then you guys roll me perception checks. Um, roll me. What do you? And I was like, how do you guys think
It's
your
perception.
characters react to this type of music? And then okay, so he does this thing. He sings something like this. Blah blah blah. For you, you people really like it. So I'm gonna give you inspiration.
Hmm.
He's gonna give you bardic inspiration. Blah blah blah. Then it doesn't feel like it flopped. It feels like it's still a grand moment because you leave it to the imagination. I think that was a rant. I don't know how we got here.
I
But
thought about like how I think the new rendition of Off High Legend Front
mm,
sucks because it cuts into black and he's like in a valley because it
yeah,
paints it as heroic too a little bit like a
it's one of
valiant
those
bayonet
things where like
charge. And I
the
prefer he just
story
got shot.
itself, the whole point was that that story wasn't that great, and like the ending is like who would care about that? In that the story is like you can follow the hero's journey and still have a shitty book because like or a shitty story. It's like I was saying. I think a whole lot of it comes down to having a solid foundation of the theme. right? The value that you want to show through this writing, like I said before, you don't want the theme to be a billion different things, to be too broad. You want it to be specific and then go into like a lot of detail. You don't want to just hit a
It's
lot
like
of
making
topics.
cordage. It all wraps into, like, you may use different strands, but it all wraps it together into this tight piece of twine.
Yeah, and rather than having big like braids where it's gonna be unsecure and stretch a lot, you're gonna wanna, you take a couple strands and you braid that very strong so that when you go back and you go to a different like very specific couple strands, that when you braid it all together, it is a more thorough braid rather than just going, let me just grab 60 strands from here, 60 strands from here, 60, and braid it together. Then you go, oh, it's a different type of rope that it seems more unwieldy and whatever. Bad analogy, but who cares? Who cares? We're only through one topic.
This
I
happens.
think. Uh, how long have we been recording?
An hour 35.
Hour 35.
Yeah.
Um, let's get into some other things. There's some of these things that we could touch on just a tad bit. I don't really care to go
Like you're at
full
the aquarium and
interest.
you're at the touch pool, yeah.
Um, let's touch on some smaller things. I had a thing about famous works. This kind of went into like,
Mhm.
h- um,
And we
old
talked about a little
stories
bit,
and
like
comics.
with cultural zeitgeist and ideas about stuff. The biggest example I've had so far on this channel is H.P. Lovecraft as a whole and the whole Cthulhu mythos, because it has definitely been blown way out of proportion what it's about. It was never about cosmic horror. H.P. Lovecraft was just really afraid of progression in science and what that could reveal to people, and religious zealotry. So he just mixed that shit together and wrote some shit. Cosmic horror came from it, sure, but like the intent and the point of it has been shifted and warped. And the whole Cthulhu's mischaracter. This is me just giving examples of like giving examples. Cthulhu's mischaracterized, Azathoth is mischaracterized. I can't say her name, the black goat goddess of fertility, um, because it's got a word in it that I, as a very white person, am not allowed to say.
Ooh, it's almost like H.P. Lovecraft. And here, this is a huge take, but I don't care. I think there's separate art from artist, but I think once you hit a certain level of bigotry,
You just
and
can't.
when I read your work, it's so clear that you're a bigot first, storyteller second, because there's so much of Cthulhu and there's so much of like the concept
Shadow
of
over Innsmouth is
eldritch,
just a different culture.
like eldritch horror. Like, okay, eldritch horror itself is not a crazy thing. I don't think it makes you racist if you use it or anything like that. But if you look at what who the father of it is, and the concept of it's a thing beyond individuals' comprehension that controls them, and because it is a greater being, almost deserves this cult like following and is this horror. It's almost like look at your own things. He is just talking like that is almost just like, oh, that's just slavery, and how, and this is a racist, like he is trying to clearly make it seem like, um well, this is kind of overzealous of me. I think you could make it where like these ideas clearly come from looking at other humans as lower, and having him and Cthulhu kind of be this like, oh, beyond your comprehension, humans are kind of ants. But of course, he's writing a lot about black people, and he has black characters who are treated terribly, um, and also like,
I will say that
with an
somehow
obsession of control, and forcing and stuff. It's like, oh, you kind of want to be able to continue living this slave master mind. Like this is what you're obsessed with. You're obsessed with this power over people and thinking of people as like little ants to do bidding. Like you're just a racist piece of shit. That's
I,
where these ideas came
I
from.
will say that somehow H.P. Lovecraft did actually like grow as a person towards the later half of his life and deeply regretted a lot of like the shit he did. He actually did grow to champion equality rights and movements. I'm also pretty sure he fucked his cousin though. So,
Dude, that guy just fucking sucks. I love
yeah,
Cthulhu. I love Eldritch horror.
eldritch beings.
Fuck H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. I think we can all
For
confidently
as far
say
as I know, as far as I know, he's an IDF soldier as well. So
Be crazy if he
Um,
championed Palestine.
yeah. So for famous works, my whole bit for famous works and historical things is uh kind of what we talked about with Chekhov's gun and the hero's journey is a lot of times it becomes a simulacrum of itself. A lot of times a lot of context and a lot of things get taken away from it. It kind of ruins older things, and it's much harder once we get talk about adaptations and stuff a little bit more. It's much harder to enjoy older things because it's been spoiled. Like I think one of and these are spoilers, but who the fuck cares?
Yeah, I just
Dr.
spoiled All
Jekyll and
Quiet on
Mr.
the Western
Hyde.
Front.
Dr.
Dude,
Jekyll and Mr.
despite it being
Hyde
so
is
old,
like a
people don't
huge
actually
thing.
understand it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And a huge thing of people who are into stories and stuff is like, oh, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde is they're it's just the same person. He doesn't turn into a monster. He's just using an alternative personality to kill
As
people.
an
Like the whole
excuse, right?
thing is like,
Yeah.
yeah, he it's
But
just
but
another
somehow,
human who's terrible.
through the grand game of telephone, it became, oh, he's being controlled by an alternate personality to do evil things. No, he's always been aware and he's just a fucking
Yeah,
dick.
the whole thing, the biggest thing is like the whole thing. There is no Doctor Jekyll. It's only been Mister Hyde. It's the whole thing of like Batman, where it's like, well, Batman's actually not the alter ego. You know, that's who Bruce's true. Like that's what he truly wants. The moment you put on the mask, you become more than yourself, and people who hide behind that get to be more truthful about who they are as
What
people. I
was
think
it
that's
with
like
like
you talk
the
about the
cabinet
internet.
of Dr. Caligari? I used to be able to like bring this one up, but I've since forgotten. You can keep going.
Um, just think like you think you see people on the internet, they check a lot of shit, but that's because like and they wouldn't do that and stuff in real life. But that's not because they're different in real life. It's because real life has consequences, obviously, and online they can be who they want to be, without getting into trouble, right? They don't have to, they can avoid consequences. So when someone is at their worst, the problem is, I do, you believe in second chances, whatever, not to get into philosophy, but the people at their worst is who they are at their base form. And whether they regret it or not, it shows what that person held more important. People like, teenage boys who go online and spout slurs, they hold attention and hurtfulness more than anything else in their life. That makes them bad people. And so um these masks allow people to be more themselves, especially when you look at things like VTubers and people who are anxious to, show their face online and that type of stuff. It allows you to talk like, especially, with someone like you, no offense,
Oh,
but
it's all
like
good. He's giving me
it
shit
allows you to
about
be
it.
more
It's
of a
fine.
nerd. Like
Yeah.
comparatively on your YouTube channel than who you are in personal. Like you're a nerd still a lot in real life, but you're more. It's more. You feel more yourself. You bear in real life. We have good conversations because we've been friends for so long. But you would never talk to a stranger or put yourself in a social situation where you'd even be able to talk to a stranger to about these nerdy things, not because you necessarily care what they think. It's just like you're just that's just not who you would
It's
want
just
to be. That's just
so
it's so far
odd
out
to
there.
do. Yeah.
And but online with this no face, with this different identity, you could be whatever you want to be, and what you want to do, what you hold in yourself more than other people is, or not more than other people, but more than anything else, to to show to other people is storytelling and your love for stories and your love for characters and ideologies and just experiencing human life through the lens of so many different worldviews and so many different things, and being able to take as much information and judge and accept so many different parts of people because you get to see their minds working. It's why we both love shitty online writings and creepypastas. It's
Dude, it's
because
so good.
some 14-year-old put their heart and soul in this, even though it sucks and we don't care and we're like, we're bashing on it. We have so much fun because we know like we've done this shit before, and it's so pure. It's so pure and funny to look at something shitty because you go, this is clearly made by someone who cares so much. They care so
That's why I
much
love seeing like
about this thing. They don't care
tense
about
swaps
outside.
and like improper like
Yeah.
phrasing as like grammar errors, because you can literally see when the author got too far ahead of themselves and was too excited to even realize that they're typing the wrong adjective or prefix. or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's
Like
like they care
it's
more about
awesome.
getting this story out of their brain than any judgment that's gonna come from it, and it's beautiful. And yeah, that's just one of those things where, uh, in stories and older stuff, it sucks that it gets ruined because so many people know about it, and it sucks that so many things get simulacrumed. I don't know what the correct word there would be,
Parody of
but
itself. That's what I call it.
yeah, just so many things get turned into parodies of itself, and it's not something that
Through
I
no
would be
fault of the
like.
audience, I don't even think.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think that if I had a wish I could do something intangible, I would care for that to be fixed, because that's the whole point of it is, what's that, to be loved is to be changed, you know that the reason that I don't have any of my toys from when I was a kid is because I fucking destroyed them. And while it sucks for me to say, oh, I just sold the Skylander for fucking $80, it's more
And
like,
eighty
well,
dollars?
I wouldn't
Shit.
yeah, some of them get really expensive, but I wouldn't have traded my fund from my with my toys as my in my youth for financial gain, you know what I mean? Like, the reason they got destroyed is because I was playing with them. The reason things get become parody of themselves and get torn, and the huge
Just because
get torn
people
apart through
want
the
to
whole
interact with the media.
Game of Telephone. Yeah, it's because people love the media, and they get so excited. And I think that's kind of the beautiful thing. It's annoying, but I think it's a beautiful thing within fandoms where characters get mischaracterized. Sometimes it can be bad where it's
That
like,
being
well, this
said,
clearly isn't
I
the
am a
author's intention,
gatekeeper,
but
and I will admit to like gatekeeping, particularly with the SCP fandom. I am
I
very
get
bad about that, but
I think for me, one of the biggest things is for Batman comics is the distinction between fan lore and real lore. And it sucks when there's someone who doesn't know the actual lore and they think, oh, this is how, Damien acts. This is how, Red Hood acts. This is how Dick Grayson acts versus Nightwing, or any of the intricacies. It sucks that it's from the outside thing, but for me, I really enjoy the kind of slice of life of like, oh, these are the relationships between the people. Then you go read the comic books and it's like, oh, Batman got his fucking limbs ripped off, and now how is he gonna
yeah.
survive?
Fandom is definitely inherently for something differently than the medium is giving you. I fully believe that. I go to fanfiction for two. I go to fanfiction for three reasons. More of something specific, these same characters but in a different situation, and like so much, like dude, so much porn, like an
Oh
incredible
my!
amount. What?
I don't know. I was thinking about something very sweet because I really like JoJo's fan fiction and like fan canons because Jotaro fucking sucks as a character. He
Well,
just
you know, because
loves
that
calling
falls
his
within
mom a
something
bitch and
different with the
stuff.
same characters, right?
And it's like, but he has a daughter that he neglects. But Josuke is a very wonderful character, and Giorno is a very wonderful character. And it's like, well, what if Jotaro wasn't a deadbeat dad, and Jolene got to hang out with I mean, if it's that's Jotaro, her great uncle, who's way younger than her dad because of family reasons. Um, and it's like, it's very fun to be like, oh, you now have this slice of life where it's like, you know you some of my favorite characters are interacting in a very lovely and nice way. Nowhere in the source material would they ever do that shit. And the source material, JoJo's, is amazing. You should go read it. Again, go read it right now. But it sucks. A lot of stuff does suck. Like, the pacing for the anime, at least in the art style originally, is not what you're used to today for the first couple parts. And some of the stories are kind of like, and it's one of those things where you watch it, like, if we're just talking about watching it, you'll watch part one, part two, you'll love Joseph, and you'll go interact with the fandom, and you're like, yeah, this is true, yeah, this is true. Then if you rewatch it, you go, he has no personality. All this shit
I
is
think
just.
what we're trying to say here is like with these old things that you think you'd love or like you like the cultural zeitgeist around them, give it a try first, like the material, and then interact with the fandom. And I think that's always how you should do
Yeah.
it. Ignore that there are completely well. Part of it is actually like because I gave it a try and didn't like the media. There are some places I only like the fandom, admittedly. Like I don't care for the original media. Fuck, my fanfic right now. I don't like Ruby. outright, I do not like the show, but there's a lot of concepts in there that I enjoy. The characters are actually pretty fun when they're allowed to talk to
That's
one
one of
another,
those.
and the world is interesting,
I
and
think
so I
for
use it.
me, one of those is kind of um I actually don't know. I think the ideas and stuff is fun of a lot of like Garden of Banban, a lot of like stupid shit.
Horror
And
slop.
and yeah, El Horror Slop is so fun to interact with the fandom, but I would never play the games because they're just bad.
Like
You know,
Garden
it's
Bandit is
like I
just
would
outright
never.
not fucking. Same with Puppy Playtime. Like the lore is interesting, it's fun. I don't care for the games. They're every game is a tech demo.
Yeah. Um. Uh. And on that note, I need to use the bathroom again. I drink a
Me
lot of
too,
water to make
actually.
sure my
Yeah,
throat doesn't
fucking A.
hurt. Pause. Break
Paused.
time. We
There we go.
tinkled.
Now I'm unpaused.
Oh, hey guys, we
All you missed
tinkled.
was "Hey guys," and also that we're
um.
both simultaneously SpongeBob.
Um. To help some of these individuals who like a break and to follow through and not be hypocrites, to give people a little bit of time to uh think for themselves and take in the information. I think we should take a little chill pill break um from a lot of crazy concepts. And I'm going to want to talk about um let's go into metagaming. I think we can go to
Oh, okay.
metagaming,
This is
extended
explicitly
universe.
for tabletop stuff. And I
Yeah,
guess
what
also card
did you write down
counting
extended
if you're a
universe?
fucking vicious gambler. Yeah, I remember saying like yeah, talk about yeah, I definitely talk about extended universe myself because
Okay.
I do have some like thoughts on like multiverse and shit or story
Yeah,
multiverse rather.
for simple laid back conversations, I'd like to start talking about metagaming.
Yeah,
This
I
this
can
whole
proudly say
topic.
I don't metagame, and neither do you, which is pretty good.
Sometimes I've metagamed.
The only kind
I've
of metagaming I
metagamed
do is like
ethically.
I know the AC, so I'm just gonna say it hits because I've established already that a 16 hits. I rolled an 18, I hit. DM, my attack
Also,
hits.
for I've made I for two characters I've min maxed for fun, but not for like just stupid. Not just because I wanted to. It was for the character. It's
I
for
think it's good to like let yourself have a powerful character. I think that's perfectly acceptable.
um. So one of the first things I want to talk about with metagaming for tabletop specifically Dungeons and Dragons in which I play,
Yeah.
um, is I don't think metagaming is bad intrinsically.
Oh yeah.
Pause. Kind of controversial. Kind of controversial. But I think metagaming is when you start out with someone new, it's hard for them not to metagame,
Mhm.
and you teach them not to metagame. But I think what happens a lot of the time is they get stuck in that never metagame mentality, and I think it can ruin D&D for a lot of people where
Part of
they're
it too
not.
is people don't really know what the world knows, right? For example, one of the big ones that comes to mind for some reason is fun fact: trolls have really powerful regeneration. It's both a mechanic and part of their folklore is that trolls are regenerative. They come back, right? They regrow limbs, etc. The way to prevent this, as with most creatures, is naturally fire. I feel like it's not extreme to say that my character would know that because trolls exist in the world. But
I
some other
think
people
I
would
think
jump to say like, "Oh, don't use fire," right? Your character wouldn't know that. But I feel like they would though.
I think obviously this is me saying don't metagame, but I think it's one of those things where
It's the intent is
your
to
your
allow your
relationship.
dungeon master to have fun.
Yeah, your relationship with your dungeon master is important because some of them could be assholes. But for an example, I would like to use. We're gonna role play right now.
Make
You're
up my
gonna
dice.
be the DM, and I'm gonna be the character, the player. I have an elf, and we're talking to you could come up with the character, but we're talking to someone who's giving us some lore, and and I'm new to this area. I don't know much about this area, and we're having a conversation. And mid conversation, I say, um, well, do I know this? Like, say that, uh, what do you think my character could reasonably know that like where to find the taverns in this town?
In this town, I don't think your character would know that, considering you're a traveler, you just arrived, and this is a mountainous location as opposed to like a woodland area where you'd be used to as an elf.
But I feel like for my character as someone who like he does struggle with alcoholism and also he's been a traveler for like 30 years of his life at this point. I think he'd kind of be able to scan the cityscape or the town like walk down and be like, "Oh, what?"
When did that happen? I nudged my mouse or some shit. We've been paused for a little while.
Uh,
I don't know when. I think I nudged my fucking mouse. Ah. So quickly
fuck.
recap, we were discussing about, because I don't know when that happened. Damn it. We were discussing about metagaming when we have the controversial opinion of there are times where, or even most times, arguably, metagaming is honestly a non-issue because you're like I said, there's a lot of shit players would intrinsically know, right? Characters would know, hey, trolls are common in this world, trolls are vulnerable to fire, it prevents them from regenerating. Let's make sure we have some fire cantrips or some shit, yeah, and stuff like that, right? And like we were just saying, I feel really bad that I didn't catch that. And like we were just saying, is that how do you say, right? Arguing, or like not even arguing, but like explaining things to your DM and trying to explain what you want out of this scene is important because not only are you the player wanting the most out of this, but your dungeon master is a player too, and presumably a friend of yours. You want everyone to come to the table and leave
Yeah.
happily.
I think one of the biggest things is like I was saying, the two big issues with metagaming and this kind of negative mentality when you're first learning out not to metagame, like try not to metagame, is that first of all, metagaming is fun. There's a reason why people want to metagame. And well, if you don't find it fun, there's always ways to have everyone, work together. And the problem is, if you want to metagame, and this comes from like I don't even think this comes with experience. Actually, for me, I have this character. I named him Tangerine. It was a whole. He was kind of a silly character. He's one that I hold near and dear to my heart, and he was just made to be the strongest possible. I could make a Goliath barbarian in I think 5e. It was at the time. It
Yeah,
was
currently,
5e.
yeah, 5e at the time. Yeah, it
Um,
was before 24.
before yeah 20 yeah, and so um like his whole thing he was literally metagamed to be the strongest. I
Path
knew
of
what's I became he was path of
Totem? Totem
yeah
Barbarian, yeah.
it was totem something.
Yeah, and it was Goliath for
um
the damage reduction.
he basically was invulnerable, and I knew here's the thing I knew that we were playing
Strahd.
uh yeah, Curse of Strahd or whatever it's called. um
By the way, I feel like
I ended
Strahd
up
is way
DMing that.
too. Yeah, by the way, I feel like Strahd is way too highly rated. It's not well made.
It's not that good. It's not that good. As someone who like I started co-DMing that
Strahd
and
is.
playing my character at the same time.
I
And so
like
I was metagaming
modules,
because
right? But I
yeah.
honestly don't think they're well made. I like them, but they're not good.
No, because if you know a little bit like Curse of Strahd, oh, we're gonna deal with different types of thropes, like vampirism
Tropes, yeah.
and whatnot. And I go, oh, I have a defense build. I can easily get bitten by every single type and just have defense against. Not only will they not be able to hit me if they don't have a silvered magical weapon. If they do, I'm going to take half damage and also have resistance to most types of damage.
Most types
So
of
I'm only
effects
going to
as
be
well,
taking,
yeah.
yeah, I'm only going to be taking a quarter of whatever they roll. And if I really don't like how hard they hit me, as a Goliath and a barbarian, I have two ways to just say, actually, I didn't take that damage, and or actually, I'm just gonna heal, and I get this back on a long rest. Like I knew that's
I
what it was
wish
gonna
I
be,
wish
but
species had more unique traits. Like Goliath is so interesting because of that. And then what? Elves just give you kind of like innate spells, and tieflings do the same.
yeah, I do think that
D&D could have
race,
stood to be more picky.
I do think that race and that type of stuff should determine more,
Yeah.
which is
I
kind of crazy to say out of context, but
no,
a
no, no,
little
okay.
bit, but I feel like
I do like 5.5, how they have the origin feats matter more, and like those give you effects instead of like your species. But also, I feel like a
We're dealing
Goliath
with different
being large
taxonomies here. You know what I
should give
mean?
you a strength bonus because you're like 8 foot on average. And tell me that's not
Yeah,
like a +1 to strength, at least.
it's one of those things where if I'm playing a bear and you're playing an otter, clearly we're gonna be on some sort of even ground because we're both mammals who are omnivores, but
Who will
clearly
enjoy fish? Yeah.
we're buffed on different levels, and it's I think that's something that they could play into. But anyway, point being that sometimes metagaming is fun, and especially if you talk to your DM and you have a good character built around it,
Actually, DM,
right?
and
You have
also
a fun
talk to your
character.
party.
I think
Clue
obviously talk
everyone
to your
in.
party.
This is one of my biggest metagaming things. I don't like players having secrets. Characters go right ahead. Players do not. I
I
think
also
if you're
think
gonna play like a warlock, but you're gonna act like a wizard in character, let your party know.
this is also something I you have to deal with in another Wizards of the Coast property, Magic the Gathering, that I like playing. Um, there's in Magic the Gathering, there's a thing called Commander, also known as EDH, which stands for Elder Dragon Highlander, I think. And then there's CEDH, which is competitive of that competitive EDH. And one of the interesting things is when you're playing casually. I haven't played competitively, but I do partake in watching content that individuals do, so I secondhand knowledge. But one of the interesting that I've experienced is that I can't there. I think that casual is harder, and I think DMing people is or like metagaming. Not metagaming is gaming is harder because um, if we're in Magic the Gathering, and there's 4 players in Commander, and when you're playing Commander casually, you take things personally, not forever, for that game. You know, there's bullshit that happens. You go, well, fuck this player.
Like
Yeah,
counter
I'm gonna
spells
blow
or
them
like
up.
life steal
Yeah,
and shit
I
like that.
got
Yeah.
I got my count. I play mono black, which is if you play Magic the Gathering, you know that has notoriously not like black is great, but we don't play we play bracket 3, so we're not doing crazy stuff. So one of the things that I don't really play in my decks is a lot of fast mana, and I would play Valgavoth mono black. He's very expensive, and so when I'm playing, I need to go through my deck a little quicker, get a bunch of lands out a little bit quicker, and I had early game a good draw spell. I was gonna draw like I think 3 or 4 cards, and be able to get get some. I don't remember but I was gonna get a decent card draw, and my friend counterspelled that early in the game. Must have been like turn 3 or 4, and I just like I was fucked for the rest of the game, and it really just was like, well, fuck him. I'm gonna, even though I don't have the ability to, all my resources are going to be against him, even if it's not technically the most advantageous thing to do. And I think one of the things that kind of people don't want to do, or kind of gets caught up into it, is like, technically you're always metagaming. Your character is because you have an idea of what your character wants to do, and whatever like what your character's idea. It doesn't matter what you think or what other people think. It matters what you think your character would think. And so all the choices are going to be made through that character, and that's like how the game's supposed to be played. But that's to me that's very metagaming. Instead of taking a correct action, well, okay. So the definition of metagaming is like instead of making a character decision, you make a personal decision. But every character decision is personal. Like you're
You're
actively
controlling
choosing,
them. Yeah.
yeah, you're actively choosing to do this, and because you're getting so much into that character, you're making decisions based on your emotions. And I think a lot of people kind of will end up trying to stray away and be like, well, let me keep level headed. It is good. I think people forget that you're playing D&D, and it's not your character's life. Your
Yeah,
character
it's
only
like
exists
people
for
use
the sake
I'm
of the
not
game.
metagaming as like a shield, not overtly, but if you've heard the phrase it's what my character would do, it usually precedes or follows the most disruptive thing at your table. Like, oh, why did you kill the important plot hook character, or why did you lead a coup? when we're not supposed to be doing that at all in the story and nobody else seems engaged in it. Well, it's what my character would do. Bad defense, idiotic,
Yeah,
moronic
but also
defense.
I think that's one of the things again where it's like the character does that, you as a person doesn't like that, but also look, your character isn't gonna like that either. And I think that for good players who have good relationships with each other, a very healthy, fun thing to do is character A, who's this rogue, who's supposed to be this chaotic evil, is like trying to fuck up the story and
Yes,
actively
please let
fuck
your
with
characters
it.
grow with each other. Yeah, I was gonna like,
Well, well,
yeah.
yeah, because that's character A, right? And
Mhm.
character B is this like paladin. He follows the rules, and they're trying to derail. Like, oh, let's fucking blow this thing up. As your character, just go, no. What are you talking about? Why do you have this incessant need to constantly one up everybody? Like, what is with you to constantly need to like change this and like fuck with what we're doing? We aren't necessarily good people. We're not going to on this adventure to because of our kind hearts. We're doing it for the money. This is our job. I like to eat. I like to survive. We barely survive our journeys together, and we're not even technically a group. We're just kind of working together on this one. Like, can you just shut the fuck up for a second? Because clearly no one else was going to blow up this caravan with you, and if anything we will all stop you and actively fight you if you continue doing this.
or
And
or straight up throw you under the bus. And obviously, don't have this be just a
obviously
character.
don't.
Also, above table, say like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
man, we're not down for this."
But I think in character, it's so much easier to deal with these arguments in character because it's like, well, if that's truly what your character would want to do, you'll continue to argue. You have this good character moment in the
Mhm.
story, and if it's just you, the player, being annoying, then you'll take it out of the character and be like, okay, I was just joking, and then that character moment disappears. It's not part of the canon, and I think
I think
that's the
let
more
let
important
both
thing.
things happen.
I
Not
think I
not the
think
action
that's the
specifically, but like let both conversations happen. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I think the big thing with metagaming is always try to metagame. And it's the job of the DM to put you back in your place, I feel. Obviously, again, don't be annoying about it. Don't always try to be like going like trying to beat the DM unless that's your
But
relationship
by the way,
as a
this
player.
this helps a lot if you as the player have a good backstory. Obviously, each DM to their own, but I personally like at least 5 paragraph backstories and drop in
I
at least
like
one character, please.
Personally,
Right?
what I like doing is working with the backstory. I mean, most of my players were first time players when we started.
With the exception of me, of course, because
Yeah,
it's me.
you're like the mama bird for them.
I really
Um,
was, huh?
but I think working with them to be like, what do you want? And being there with their, I think a big D&D is for fun, but
Yeah,
it's also you as your person. It's you as
but it
you.
also is
It
a
is a
commitment.
way. It's therapy. Yeah, it's therapy. It's commitment. It's fun. There's so much. It's just people being people and people being human, and I think that is you gotta be very. I think that's why it's important. Like metagaming is this not bad thing because you're playing a game. Metagaming, like if you look at it like you're playing a game of Monopoly, why the fuck wouldn't you try to like convince someone not to do something or like try to make a deal that's shitty for someone else? Like that's you're trying to play a game. You're trying to get one up. And I think the thing is within reasonability, the job of the DM is to tell you what you can and cannot do in this world. And you as the player, you're trying to solve these you're trying to get to the goal. You're trying to get to your goal. And so that's where the game aspect comes. It's not from the chance of rolling the dice, it's from the decisions that you make with your character. And in that situation and with your DM, you guys are fighting against each other. You guys are friends. It's not necessarily like hateful, but it is a sparring match of who can thwart whose ideas faster and better.
And
Um,
of course, like no maliciousness behind it, right? Your job as the DM is never to win against the players, or like
it's to
win in
throw
the
it's throw
conventional
them
sense.
obstacles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing for early
Early D&D was so fucking player hostile.
yeah, it was very hostile, and I think brand new DMs also kind of this goes on them too
I
with
blame.
metagaming. As a
Okay, do I blame
DM,
Critical Role? I blame Critical
as
Role
a
for a lot of
DM,
things.
don't as a DM, you need a metagame too. And I think the way you look at it is the DM should always allow the players the same level of metagaming as they allow themselves. I allow you guys to do a lot of dumb shit. I allow you guys to do
Yeah.
certain things, and that's because when I want a good fight, when I want to give you guys a good fight because you guys worked all week during doing college or work or whatever, and you guys are I've accidentally made you too overpowered. Fuck it. This spider has 5,000 more health, and
Oh yeah, like on the fly decisions as a DM, and like that's your tool
obviously
set.
not 5,000 more. I'm not gonna my rule for myself, and this is like, obviously set it for yourself, set it for your players. But my rule for myself is I don't change the health total, or I don't change an aspect of a fight or an encounter more than twice. It's like
Mhm.
once it twice is if I really need to. But if I go, oh, clearly this unicorn's gonna die in 2 rounds of action, I want them to die in at least at least this many rounds of action. Then I'll just do the base calculation of like, oh, if this much, if 100 health is only 4, I want them to get to 7. Then you do the amount of damage that did minus 4 or divided by 4, and then you multiply that by 7. You go, oh, what's the difference? So you go, I'm gonna set this health arbitrarily now to this, so that they can do this. I want to at least have this moment happen. I want at
Or
least
if
to
also,
have an option of an opportunity for these things to happen. I don't want it to just end. Don't ever, I think it's really bad for you to say, obviously in the game, to be like, this is what's going to happen. Say, like, for yourself, you're trying to play a game, that's where the fun comes. I'm trying to fuck up my character or my players in this way, but the game decides whether it happens or not. And if I think, oh, I've kind of fucked up the situation where it's going to happen too quickly, I'm not going to be able to get my thing or have my thing happen, then I'm gonna kind of give myself more time. And the same thing with your players. If your player, your players want to do something, give them the allotted time. Give them stretch out your story so that they can hit the beats that they want to hit, um, with their things, without derailing everything.
Mhm.
Because the moment you take away that good feeling, the moment you take away that level of like,
agency.
um agency, that's when everything truly derails, because now they're going to want to do extra things. It's like, no, it's fun when I give you this beat to have this interaction with your father, when I give you this beat to really reflect and have to live through your past traumas. And metagaming is really fun when you do it healthily with your friends. I think there's a hard bash on metagaming because a lot of people don't know how to behave. But I think if you can't say, hey, metagaming's allowed within these constraints, if someone can't listen to that, they don't deserve to be playing with you or your table, because they don't respect you. And in metagaming, the problem with metagaming has never been metagaming itself. It's always been respect in the players who are doing
Yeah.
it.
Mhm. Also, you mentioned like the adjusting like health on the fly. If you as a DM are doing that, but you feel cheap about doing that, dude, give them like a sudden legendary action and like they get stronger, like healthier, and like oh, it becomes a cool like plot beat for a second. Also, this is gonna like I'm gonna set this up weird. I'm gonna explain what I mean afterwards. Be mindful of your curses, not like your swears, but like the curses upon you, like as people. I.e., you can't plan for everything. Real world example that really happened in my game. He was supposed to be a minor antagonist, flew off the fucking rails. So first appearance, he was gonna be one of the villains that like their AC is super high as is their health. They come in, they fuck shit up for a little bit and like walk away because they're beneath them and stuff like that. So he rolls high on initiative. He attacks first. Oh shit, that's a crit. Okay, I built him with multi-attack, so let's hope this won't be too bad. Oh, fuck. That's another crit. Already a 2.5 chance of happening. So then, his turn's over, 2 crits, crazy shit, down to the paladin instantly. Then one of the little minions, I rolled. What the fuck? Are my dice loaded? That's another crit. Then a few other like unnotable things. It comes back to the main villain. I roll a 19, and then I roll a crit. And another round, I go back. Genuinely happened. Another round, we go back to the villain. I roll a crit. Then I roll again. It's a fucking crit. And I tell myself, okay, I'll just re-roll that. I'll ignore that. I roll a 19 or some shit that's like super high. And then I audibly go, "Oh, that's too high," and I feel mean about this. Don't worry, guys. I'll just re-roll that. Let's all accept that. It rolls onto a crit again. I'm not fucking with you. This is a real story that happened to me. And then finally, I'm like, okay, I guess we're just gonna leave one round early. And the minions were still like, I missed 5 times that combat. I rolled like 30 times, like more than 30 times. So he comes back for the next fight, like several sessions later. They're all like, they're leveled up by a few times now. He rolls not highest, but he rolls pretty high. It's his turn eventually. First attack. Could you guess what he rolled? Yeah, so
Dude,
so that fight was a stomp as well. Finally, the last fight. And my players planned for this. They used heat metal on his armor, because if you can't drop or unequip the item, the character gets disadvantage. And they also like blinded him and a bunch of shit, so he couldn't hit. Then his ads come in, his minions. Why the fuck could I not stop critting? I think
I had
he's
the
cursed.
opposite problem
I
once.
think his token is cursed. I'll have to test that. I'll have to like put him back in and like hide his token. I am genuinely convinced there is a curse upon me because I won't stop rolling 20s. It's bad.
I had the opposite problem. I can't tell you a lot because someone here is part of the story and I don't know. It's supposed to be a secret, but let's just I was trying to kill a person um on purpose. Like I was going all out. I was metagaming to try to kill this person, give them opportunity, and I decided to
Was it
give the
our sorcerer?
agency I decided to give the agency to allow actions to be to redone before combat. And so more people showed up than I kind of wanted. But even though the whole interaction was meant for the whole party, what ended up happening was they I fought hard and there was no way this guy was dying. Every time that this person was like about to get hit while down to go into their first saving throws, some bullshit move would happen that they would coordinate so well, and it made me
I am a
realize
hyper
that like
mobile paladin with lay on hands. So
and so I it made me realize that like, oh, even when I give this excuse for this thing to happen, sometimes you can't like sometimes you're working with a player to have something happen. You can't just naturally have like you have to kind of force it and just lie. Like I should have just lied. I should have just like forced it and just been like, actually, this gets here because you guys aren't tracking the stuff that me as a DM are, so I can get away with lying to you like that, and it's fine because it's for the sake of the story and it would benefit everyone, especially that one character. It's not like you know, it's not like we just go, oh, we're gonna write off this character because we want to do this thing. It's like to everyone else, the lie is good because it makes them be like, oh, this character died in this moment. That sucks. What character is this person gonna have to come back and play? And then that whole thing. So yeah, that kind of those kind of ideas, not necessarily what I was working with, but like those types of things are important to kind of know. Funny thing is, this is kind of off topic, like what we have just been talking about, because the whole point of the metagame was knowledge within stories, and with metagaming, the whole concept, because I think I want this to be our last little topic before wrapping it up, is within stories, there's two people who know things, right? The main character and the reader. And when you're trying to tell a story, there's two types of things you want to do. Things that happen to the character that surprises the reader, and things that surprise the reader because the reader didn't know, right?
Mhm.
Plot twists are different because plot twists affect both the character and the reader, but sometimes the things that are shocking only affects the reader. It's like the reader could know that, like, piece it together, but once it actually happens, they're in the moment of it.
yeah,
And so I think the
or
playing to the
recontextualizes
audience,
something that happened earlier.
yeah, and so playing to the audience versus playing to the character is a very nuanced thing. And I think personally, I do like hiding stuff from the people themselves. I really like D&D where we do have secrets and we do have things that we don't that
Mhm.
people can come to me, just the DM, talk about like this is what they want to do. These are certain character actions. So that in the moment that we don't need to have those metagame like, oh, can I do this? What will my character know? They know more about what their character know because we have these one-on-ones where they can ask whatever questions and I'll
Yeah.
tell them.
Oh,
I'll
and,
tell them
and
without roles.
here's a tip for the players. Like, if you're waiting for your DM to do some last minute prep, do some roleplay with your players. Get into the character, practice, do your voices, stuff like that. Helps set the scene. Helps get the mood going, get the blood up.
Yeah, I think that is another thing. So the whole question is like, what do you prefer? You know, what do you think are the best ways to share or withhold knowledge within a story to kind of shape it to what you want? I do think working with like, and specifically in D&D, but like,
Mhm.
holding information to the reader or to the audience has a huge impact on specific moments. Obviously, don't do it for everything. Don't just like obviously some detective novels, you find out with the detective, but there's things that the detective doesn't notice that like you as a reader will. Um so like that's kind of where it differentiates. I do think like having like huge bam, this is a truth that no
Revelations, yeah.
like
Truth
yeah,
nuke.
like it hits harder when things happen that people don't know. Um and for me, I think it comes from as a reader. I really don't like when because I'm really into ARGs back when they were cool and not just shitty.
Oh, we've
I was
complained.
really into
Sorry,
like
all you fans. We've complained about the left turn to no. What was it called? The Minecraft one.
oh, I forget.
It has the king in yellow in
um
it, and it's in Minecraft. We're not fans.
there's plenty of that might be a whole other fucking
Yeah.
4-hour video. But
Underselling it.
it's just I'm interested. I was, I like participating in, game theory stuff and Gravity Falls stuff. So I've kind
Yo.
of been trained. I've had a little trained mind to kind of pick apart and try to guess and get ahead of the story. And so for me, when things are so blatantly like just hidden from the character and not from the audience, it's very hard for me to enjoy the story because then it's like, oh, am I right for this plot? Oh, I was right. That sucks. And so I kind of fall into this like not liking stories that just hide information from the thing because I end up screaming at the TV like or end up screaming at my fucking phone or book whatever I'm reading like are you like how because especially like say like it's a Batman comic. I am not smarter than Batman. I'm not smarter than this main character most of the time. This main character is supposed to be at least have some sort of
Critical thinking
something
skills,
happening. Yeah,
intelligence,
and it's
training,
like
etc.
it feels like when you or sometimes this is something to watch out with as a writer because you have things planned, right?
You need to understand like where's the reader coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, might seem predestined or like characters might seem kind of stupid because it's like, well, why didn't they notice that? You kind of have to really think from the character's perspective and really think how would this how do they get their information within the story because that therefore uh shows how the readers are getting their information. And yeah, so I just really fall into this area of like hiding stuff from the reader, from the audience.
I have a few points. First of all, if you're looking to give info to your character in like diegetic ways that don't feel like exposition dumps or like really big like oh chunky bits of information that why would they know this? Give your character a hobby. I've always championed that. If your story revolves around like the birth of an elder god or like the reawakening of some such, them having an interest in anthropology and history could be a good excuse as to why they're seeing this cult prop up now and throughout time
I
immemorial,
think
etc.
um to, just like a little
Go ahead.
IE um Indiana Jones sucks. I love Indiana Jones. I recently tried to rewatch the movies. They're really kind of slow and boring. But I've always liked the fact that he is a college professor. Like it's a little like, alter ego-y, but I do like the fact he's foremost for most of his life has just been on these expeditions because he cares about artifacts and these things so much, and he's a college professor about it, and goes on these trips for these things, and he uses those situations to talk about in class. It's not like it feels less alter ego-y. It's like part of his job that he gets to do as like a rich person would. Um, and I do think that that's like the kind of hobby where it's like, well, his job obviously his job leans into it, but for the story, his job isn't being a professor. His job is being
Being
Indiana
Indiana
Jones and
Jones, yeah.
going, yeah. And so in this situation, it's like his hobby is the school. His hobby is this learning and why he's interested in it. And you get a little prologue and you get a little bit of this of like, oh, this is not only why they know this information, but also like shows that they care about what's happening and that they're willing to learn. They're still learning. I think a lot of things that fall flat in detective novels and detective comics that is like Batman's kind of just this all-knowing guy, and it kind of feels lame. Where it's like, well, how does he know this? Well, he just does. You know what I mean? Like he's just a well-rounded guy in every possible conceivable way. It kind of takes away from the niceness of it, because it's like, say I have this detective turtle guy, right? And his whole thing is that because he's a turtle, he investigates very slowly and methodically. And one of his favorite things are tiny little details. Then it's like, well, he's analyzing this big, kidnapping, and he has to go for on this. He's going off of this, security footage, and it's blurry. He can't really. He tried to digitally enhance it. It's not really working. How does he catch it? How does he get this information about these people? Well, he goes, well, what are the nichest details that I could look at? What are the smallest things that with his knowledge? And he goes, well, I know a lot about microbiology. I like looking at micro and like microfibers and different things of like doing that. And he goes, um, well, what can I tell about this car? I'm not a big car guy, but what can I tell? And he brings this information to his car guy. And this car guy tells him, and he brings up, well, like, well, what about the tire marks or something about the rubber? And then it's like his interest in these small things and his interest in being methodical has brought him the solution. It's not that he's gotten this Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, I know this information now. I was
Yeah, it's
able to
like
look it up.
he would
He
like
goes,
it's lateral
he
thinking.
goes through the steps. Yeah, he goes through the steps, and it's like, aha, like this is something that I can go off now. Because like I don't know a lot about tires, but now that I've asked somebody or looked it up, it's like, well, clearly vans need to have certain tires. This is a smaller town, blah 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 blah. Like where is this? Oh, well in the escape they hit the curb, they popped their tire. We can go ask if anyone has this type of model, like how to switch out these wheels or see where like these wheel sales have. That gives you the motivation and kind of the interesting, like it makes your character feel more real and well
Complete, yeah.
rounded and complete when the reason that they get an answer, the reason why they know information comes from something that is personal to them, so their own way of thinking. Because if you versus the fucking line detective, who the line detective loves, like he loves analyzing people's mindsets, and so he goes and he's working on this thing, and he notices that um the the van does like a burnout before it leaves, and it's like, why? Oh, this person clearly is nervous. You don't need to heat up the tires of a van like this. This person clearly is either not, like, this is either a stick or blah blah blah. And they go to the car guy and they go, what is this? They're like, do you have a version of this model of car? And then they go inside and they sit in the seat, and they realize, oh, this person has to be a young man because of this action that they took. I think it's a young man, blah blah blah. That gives them the lead. And in both of those situations, they both look at the shitty security footage. They both go bring it to this car guy, and they both get their next step. But in each
But they
one,
go
it
through it from
feels
different
more,
manners, yeah.
yeah, it feels more like the thing. And even though they can get to the same step, it feels more personal and intertwined if you really have motivations and underlying concepts for your characters. And this also goes back into D&D of metagaming and like
Hmm.
making your character and talking to your DM and everything, which is like your character, you want your character to be a specific way. You know your character's background, you know what your character is thinking. try to make the story about your character, because obviously the DM's job is to not make it about any one person, right?
Mhm.
But to you, you live your own life. It's your story to you. Your character's not gonna, unless your character is a nice person who genuinely is like caring and thoughtful, they're gonna want the spotlight because to them these other people don't matter a lot of the times. And so it's like, yeah, you can be an asshole, but be mindful of it. But like for your character, it's like, this metagame. You do take the actions, take the abilities that get you to where you want to, that get you to where you can do the things you think your character will be able to do. And if the DM says, I don't know about that, be like, well, think about this, think about this, think about this, and try to argue your case for getting to your conclusion that you want. Doesn't matter if it's your character, like if your character would actually do it. It's what you want your character to do. Um, but yeah,
I was just gonna
that's
like
like a
make
little.
one final point. It's disjointed, but like you were talking about like obfuscating details and shit like that. I am personally not a POV switcher. If I'm writing a story, it's the main character, that's the guy. We're not gonna go briefly, even briefly, to a side character. We're sure as shit never gonna like get the viewpoint of the antagonist. Whatever the audience knows, it's because the main character experienced it. That's how I personally enjoy doing it. Whenever I write stories, I do not like moving to the villain and they say, "Ah, just as planned. Now time to move on." Even like, the typical like, "Oh, time to move on to phase 2 or whatever." I think that's lame. Or if they explain their detail and you can still see it like playing out and it's really cool, where you can see them like going through the steps and the main character's oblivious. I still don't like that because I don't like knowing too much. This is a personal thing, definitely. I don't mind knowing too much as a reader where the characters don't, like that sort of irony. Not my thing. So whenever I write, I don't do that. Whenever I read, I look for stories with as little POV switching as possible. Ideally, none,
So
because it
in a
just
story
creates
and
a.
say that where someone's DMing to you and the you kind of get these glimpses here and there
Oh, that's
of the
that's
big
fine. It's
bad
other
and
people. Yeah, I realized as I was saying like, oh shit, you did that. But like, no, it was
well,
fun.
I would say it's different because it's only happened twice,
Yeah,
and neither times have propelled the story. Has only made the
it's an
character
interlude.
menacing. It literally just makes the character like you don't know anything about the
He got to
character.
menace us without us like being in contact and potentially
Yeah, now
doing
as
something stupid and
players,
dying.
like, and that again, that's for you as a player, not for your character, because that makes you as a player being like, oh, this guy is fleshed out and he is watching us and he is like again with the metagaming, like you as a player, I want your characters are feeling the anxiety no matter what.
Hmm.
And it's hard to get into that because you guys aren't professional actors. So giving you that as a player makes you even subconsciously play into that and metagame more of like, oh, this guy's serious, we need to not fuck around. Or on the other way of some of our other players, like be like, well, whatever the fuck, I don't care, because you know, and like play into the fact that they don't know. And that helps make the story more tight and consistent because then it's both you and the characters feeling the same things but for different reasons. um and I, of course, like I said, I don't overdo it. I think POV switches a lot is very annoying and takes away from what you're trying to do. Like I
Hmm.
said, I think things should be very focused and intricate rather than broad and sloppy, which is like no dirt. But I feel like that's what a lot of things end up doing is being broad and sloppy,
Yeah,
trying to
I've
hit a
I've
bunch of
always
different points.
championed narrow your scope, trim things out, like cut your kill your
You can
darlings. It's so
never,
important.
you can never get too narrow because, in my opinion, if you just look at it like from like kind of with science, there's so much to talk about with an atom. There's so much to talk about a nucleus. There's so much to talk about, the like even like super like how these things work in quantum physics, subatomic particles, blah blah blah. There's so much, like you can always get smaller and have the same amount of stuff to talk about,
Hmm.
and so therefore there's not
There's
there's
no
no
reason
such
not to.
thing. Yeah, there's no such thing as getting too small scoped because all that does is help you save scope for later. Um, to play into your other video of why we hate Stranger Things, I think this is why season one was really
we,
good of
we
that
we
show
pretty
and the
much
rest
came
suck.
to the same conclusion. Is like
It's
season one
like
was so tight and concise. the characters actually talk to each other. Oh man, I'm not gonna get back into it, but I so could get back into
Yeah,
it.
go watch that video if you care. It's a great video.
I don't think
But
you've
yeah, that's the
watched it.
thing. It's like I've watched. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'm
but
like, there's
I
no
did
way
watch
you
some of it.
watched 2 hours 40.
But the scope of it gets small. Like the scope being small doesn't affect the story other than making people care more. You can make people care more. The broader and broader you go, you need more the
Stakes
broader and
get
broader you go,
weirder.
this
Specificity is lost. We're
genuinely the
losing
way to think about
focus.
it is the broader and broader, all you're doing is adding fat because you have all these other things, but to keep people interested, you always need to go back to the meat.
Yeah, and
You
if
always need to
and
get back
when
to the
you have
meat
a
of
bunch of
things.
fatty meat, it's all it's good for is being rendered out.
Yeah, all the fat is good for if you like chewing on it, then people have the option to. If not, they're just gonna cut it off and eat the meat. And so like you're really putting energy into something unless you think it's care if unless you truly think it's worth it. All you're doing is putting energy for something that is ultimately gonna just take away from what you want the readers to truly lock in on. Um and yeah,
I think we also had a point too about world building, but I'm pretty sure we've petered out. Right? We've hit our wall.
we had world building. I talked about a little bit of Magic Gathering. The whole world building part is kind of what we talked about knowledge within stories and kind of like
Yeah.
tropes and
We've
stories.
touched enough
Is
on it.
that
If I feel like we need to bring back to it, I feel like I could just have you on for another video,
yeah,
honestly.
but yeah, I think that that last little part to kind of about what we didn't talk about was story and media where it doesn't matter. Games like Magic the Gathering or
Censoring my name here. Well, I'm gonna try to edit this one anyway, so it's fine.
we'll just cut the last part
Yeah.
about. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about just how things for like board games and one D&D one shots and stuff, how the world building and the story and the setting really kind of don't matter in those situations, but they always help so much for everything. Like you don't need the story to play the game Magic the Gathering,
Mhm.
but once you start getting hints and pieces of it, the board game would be fundamentally different because you wouldn't have these characters or anything, and like you always need lore for something, and never you don't always need to tell the lore. I think it's so beautiful and fun when you write for yourself and write interesting stuff, as especially as a DM, you write for yourself and you write the stories and the reason why and the all this history for yourself, and you never share it with anyone else because then it helps you make your decisions. It helps you understand what you are doing
And
more.
then at the end, you have
And
like a big pile of notes you can show your players. That's always fun too.
yeah, and but it's like if you look at the DM who does that versus the DM who doesn't, the one who doesn't will have a more shallow story because they are not into it as much. There's nothing to build, like they don't have as much to build on. They have to just go off of new ideas and not really have time to cook and render them.
Which, of course, isn't
Whereas
always a bad thing, but it's also not the greatest.
yeah, I think planning for me, what I rather do than sit down and plan a full session of what's going to happen
Make a
is
checklist.
sit down and yeah, let me make a checklist. Is sit down and contemplate my world and write things for my world, because then when I'm DMing, then when something happens, I know what I want for this world, like what to happen in this world, not what I want to happen for the story. And when you have again going to like the good solid base, that propels things in a more interesting, better way that is more well versed and thought out than anything else that you try to particularly force things to happen. I think it's just like the ebb and flow, like the resistance of trying to force things to happen, whereas you understand like what should happen in these situations, and then you gotta just go with the flow.
Mhm. Do you want to talk about that last point that you did have in bold, though? I mean, we're gonna have about like 2 minutes.
um I mean, the last little thing that we were gonna talk about is AI, but I do think we should just save that for a different video.
Yeah.
um
Spoilers, not fans.
yeah, I don't know if you could tell by me dogging on Israel, I'm very woke. Well,
Being woke is
that's all
actually
I
awesome,
have
though.
to yap about today.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah, no problem, man.
finally inviting me on, even though I had to force myself here. Please hold me accountable and have
Oh
me make
yeah,
my YouTube
definitely.
videos. And I hope whoever listened to this entire thing enjoyed it very much. And I do plan on doing more scripted content and making this guy make more semi-scripted content so that it isn't just like crazy rambling and pausing
It's
to
not
drink
so
water.
crazy.
But not all the
But
time. I
you
do enjoy
finally
the
understand why I drink so much water.
yes, I do understand. I do enjoy sitting down, watching a video, and like so much of it just being silence and I understand that. So I'm not gonna take that away from you, but I do want videos for myself where it's more quick. I don't want to watch 4 hour videos. Sorry.
2 hour 39 so far. Anyway, do I have any final notes? I don't think so. Outside of bang, haha, I shot you. This has all been about Chekov's gun. Anyway, that's it. See you.